Welcome to mographplus.com. In this series of tutorials in almost 4 hours, we go through the process of creating advanced 3D motion graphics in Cinema 4D and After Effects. This is another one of our project-based tutorial series in which we take one motion graphic design and show you how to create that motion graphic from scratch. In this course, we will recreate this very nice and professional 3D motion graphic. We start off by explaining the general workflow to create this motion graphic design. Have you ever played with Rubik's Cube? So we're going to show you how to set up a simple yet effective Rubik's Cube rig in Cinema 4D and how to animate it. This is the most important step to create this motion graphic design. Then we start from absolutely scratch and walk you through every and each step you need to know to design this amazing 3D motion graphic design. Everything will be done in front of you and there would be no secrets at all. After we finished rigging and animating, we start the lighting process and prepare our scene for final render. As soon as our render is finished, we start the compositing process inside After Effects and turn our raw renders into one-of-a-kind 3D motion graphic design. So if you want to learn how to create and design professional 3D motion graphics, this course is for you. If you think you know the basics of Cinema 4D but cannot design a professional looking motion graphic, make sure to take the course and learn the thought process behind a high quality motion graphic and how to approach one. So let's get started. Thank you for watching this free video tutorial from mographplus.com. Please make sure to visit our website and check out our premium courses for Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, Arnold, V-Ray, Maxwell, motion graphics, and much more. And also please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo to enjoy our free video tutorials. Okay folks, welcome to mographplus.com. Now in this first section and in this lesson basically we're going to be talking about how basically to have this animation of Rubik's cubes and how to go about it. I mean it's really not going to be that hard, and especially I try to make it as simple as possible for this lesson and show you a very easy way to achieve this kind of interrelated motions. You can see different animations and motions, and definitely it is going to be kind of easy, kind of hard, but the way we're going to be walking you through in this lesson is going to kind of be very simplified, and it's going to be really easy to everybody to understand it. The first thing about the whole workflow is that if you take a look at this design here, we have two different types of cube. We have these simple cubes which are very simple, and these complex cubes that are made up of a lot of pieces. Now the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be working with absolutely simple cubes, and we're going to animate them, and when the animation is done we are going to be able to simply replace those simple cubes with these complex cubes. But while we are animating those, we're going to be using just very simple cubes. So let's go ahead into Cinema 4D and start kind of working and see what we are going to be able to do. So the first thing I'm going to create a cube, and I'm going to my object and reduce its size to something like 190 centimeters and Control and Enter. Perfect. And then we're going to enable fillet and go to something like 2 centimeters for the radius and 5 for the subdivision. And then the next thing is to basically go ahead and actually convert this cube. So I'm going to hit C. Okay. I'm going to hit C and then go to my MoGraph menu, hold down Alt and click on the cloner. We're going to be changing the type from mode to grid array, and we're going to something like 390 centimeters. Perfect. So that's what we have at the moment. Okay, great. The next thing is to go ahead and actually we can simply go ahead and convert this cloner to be a simple object. But before that, I'm going to my layers and create new layers. Let me just change the color to something a bit more like this, and I'm gonna rename this to extra. I'm going to create a copy, so control and drag, and then control and drag this copy into my extra layer and make sure it's not visible in my viewer, renderer, or my manager, so we can reference back to this cloner if we wanted to. The next thing, I'm going to hit C on this cloner to convert it. So here, there we go, and now we have our cloner and our 27 cubes from 0 to 26. Perfect. Now I'm going to control and drag this cloner, and this is going to be our cloner. Let's go ahead and actually rename this to converted, and also I'm going to have another original version of this guy, so converted. Perfect. Let's go ahead and control and drag this guy to my extra layer too. So here is our cloner, and the first thing is to do is to make sure, if you take a look at the cube, they have different axis points, and the pivot point for our all of our cubes is different. What we're going to be doing is make sure that all of our cube have the exact same axis point and pivot point, which is 0, 0, 0 on X, Y, and Z. So let's go ahead and select our first cube. I'm going to enable my axis tool here, and in my coordinate manager, I'm going to type down 0, 0, 0 and hit enter. And I'm going to do this for all of my cubes. So there we go. The second one, and cube 3, and this is going to be very, very important to be able to do that animation. I mean, the way I did it in my original design was completely different from this, and it was a lot of rigging and espresso involved, just to make sure I have an absolute control over it. But doing it that way, it would take forever, really, if we wanted to do it that way. This way is much more simpler, and we can really go ahead and create whatever we want. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm gonna zero out all of my 27 cubes, so they have, there we go. Let's go ahead and do this for this guy, for number 17. But the fact about this method, it's gonna break, it's possible to break at any point. I mean, at some point it's not gonna be possible to continue the animation because of the gimbal problem that we are familiar with, and in that case we're gonna be finding a solution. Always we can think out of the box and find solutions for different situations, and I'm gonna show you that solution after the problem appears. So let me go ahead and zero out, and definitely the problem appears whatever you do. Sooner or later, I mean after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 motions, it's possible that we see the problem. And let me go ahead and zero out these guys. There we go. I'm just going to check them back again and select these guys and take a look at these positions here. So make sure there are 0, 0, 0 for all of them. So I'm gonna click on my down arrow here and make sure they all are 0, 0, and oh, this one we forgot. So let me go ahead and make sure 25, 26. And then if I select all of my cubes, as you can see, their axis point is exactly at this point, which is 0, 0, and 0. I'm going to disable my axis point, get back to my viewport, and start working on our animation here. Perfect. So let's kind of change this cloner name maybe to something like controller, or maybe master. Okay. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and start the animation. So I'm going to kind of have about 8 motions, and each motion will be happen in 20 frame increments. Now, as I said, this lesson is just, I'm going to try to walk you through the basic concept and the way that we're going to be doing it, the workflow basically, and how to kind of have this Rubik's Cubes puzzle and those motions happening. And from the next section and from the next lesson, we're going to start the main motion design that we have, and different ways that we're going to be doing this. But let's go ahead and start the animation. Now let's go ahead and start the motion here. So let's go ahead first of all and start the cubes from here. So I'm going to go ahead and start them, select them here. So it's going to be kind of easy. There we go. As I said, I'm going to go and have about 8 motion. Each motion will be in 20 frame increments. So we're going to be needing about 160 frames. So let's go ahead and type 160. And let's start working. The first thing is to make sure I'm going to select all of my cubes and then control click on my master. If you middle click on your patterns, you can see all of the children will be selected. So I'm going to go ahead and then control click on the master. So it's going to be deselected, but we have the cube selected. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe. We are just going to animate the rotation. So let's go ahead and deselect the position and the scale, and let's set a keyframe. And then I'm going to frame 20, and then let's select these cubes from this side here. So there we go. Very simple, perfect. Now let's go ahead and animate them maybe this way, about 90 degrees. I'm going to set another keyframe and then select all of my cubes and set a keyframe for them too. And then I'm going to frame 40 maybe. And now let's go ahead and select maybe this upper section here. So let me go ahead and select all of these cubes. Perfect. And if I move them left or right, nothing's gonna happen. So let's go ahead. There we go. So let's go to frame 40. I'm going to select my rotation, and let's go ahead and rotate this about 90 degree. Make sure it's 90 degree. Let's set a keyframe, select all of the cubes again, and set a keyframe for them too. So now we have first, second, and let's go to frame 60, and let's this time go ahead and maybe rotate this middle column here. So let's go ahead and select this middle section. So let's go ahead and just make sure you have the right selection. Perfect. And now we got 1, 2, frame 60. Let's go to frame 60 and maybe rotate it this way and set a keyframe. Select all the cubes and set another keyframe. So there we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And then I'm going to frame about 18. Okay. And this time let's go ahead and maybe rotate this bottom section here. So let me go ahead and select all of that. Just hold on shift and select these guys. Perfect. And make sure you have the right selection. And then I'm going to rotate them this way. Perfect. Set another keyframe and then select all the cubes and set another keyframe. So we still have no problem, which is perfect. Now, okay. Just make sure you have set a keyframe for all of this at frame 80. I'm gonna go to frame 100, and this time let's see. So we have these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to frame 100 here, and I'm going to select these guys here maybe, and you know what, let's go ahead and actually select this part so we have another motion on the banking axis. So let's go ahead and make sure we have the right selection. Let's control drag There we go. And let's go ahead and see if we can rotate them. So about frame 270. There we go. Oh, you can see it breaks at this point. So we can, if you take a look, hit play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so here basically the rig basically breaks, and the solution here is, as I said, we can go ahead and really go talk about a lot of rigging and espresso to make it work, but it's going to be very, very complex and really beyond the grasp of this course. And always I'm trying to make things as simple as possible, so you can really do complex jobs, and always think out of the box and try to find simple solution for your complex tasks. So what I'm going to be doing is to delete these guys. So let's go ahead and delete those. And what I'm going to be doing is create another set of these cubes, okay? So we have our first set. So let's go ahead and master 0, 1. I'm going to, here maybe, let's go to frame 0 back. I'm going to control and drag and create another set. So master 0, 2, okay? So 0, 2. And let's go ahead, I'm going to go to select everything here. And at frame 0, I'm going to delete every keyframe on this, okay? So basically now we have another set of keyframe, another set of cubes which has no motion, okay? So I'm going to this guys, the animation finishes at about frame 80. So I'm gonna, let's go ahead and hide this guys. I'm just going to type in up to 80. So there we go. For our second master nulls, we're going to set a keyframe for all of the cubes at exactly at frame 80. If you take a look at the values here, you can see everything is basically 0. Perfect. So we're going to set a keyframe for them. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe. I'm going to frame 100. And then I'm going to select these guys, these cubes here. There we go. Perfect. And let's go ahead and maybe animate them again. So frame 100 here. Let's go ahead and negative 90 degrees. So let's set a keyframe, select all of the nulls and set another keyframe. So there we go. And then let's go to frame 120. And I'm going to, you see this? So there we go. And let's go to frame 120. And let's go ahead and maybe select this upper section this time. Just hold on shift and make sure you got all of the cubes selected. Perfect. And so we have this. And let's go to 120 and see. There we go. 90 degrees. Set another keyframe. Select all of your cubes. There we go. So let's go to frame 140. And this time, let's see what we got. Okay, I'm going to 140 and select this section here. And it might break at any point. I mean, it might break after 2 movement, after 2 rotation, or after 1 motion, or you know, or after 5, 6 motions. I mean, so let's go ahead, go to 140. So we got this, 140. Let's see if it's gonna work or not. It's working yet. And I'm gonna set a keyframe here. Select all of my nulls and set another keyframe. Perfect. And let's go to frame 160, and hopefully this is gonna work too. So let's see. 160. Perfect. So I'm going to 160 and maybe let's see if this guy is working. I really hope it breaks. You know what? Because I wanna show you the complex solution. Not the complex solution. I just wanna make sure if it happens, you know how to solve it. But if it doesn't break, we're gonna be just working on these 2 sets, and I'm going to show you how to kind of add more sets if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and set another keyframe and select all of the cubes and make sure. I see it kind of breaks. You see, it kind of breaks. At this point, it's kind of break. So let's go ahead and add another set of keyframes. So let's go ahead to here. I'm going to Control Z a few times. There we go. And okay, now we're going to be adding another set. So I'm going to go to frame 160. Let's go to 80 to 140. Okay, 140. And then we're going to create another set of these guys. So Control and drag. I'm going to select everything, get back to frame 0, and I'm going to select all of these keyframes, delete them, and here is our third set, which is going to be 140 to 180. Let's give it 2 motion at least. So let's go ahead, get back here. I'm going to select everything and make sure it's all the 0 out. And if you select this, guys, you can see. So let's go to 140, and then I'm going to select these guys, and let's go ahead. I'm going to select this middle section here. So hold on, Control. Okay, we got this guy selected. There we go. So let's go to frame 140 first of all, and let's go ahead and set a keyframe for these guys. There we go. And let's go ahead and increase this guy to 180. And there we go. So I'm going to go to 160 and rotate these guys. Sorry, let's go ahead and select them again. So there we go. Perfect. Great. There we go. Let's go ahead and rotate this guys maybe 90 degrees, and then select everything again and set a keyframe, and then go to frame 180, and let's see what's gonna happen here. I'm going to select these cubes here. Okay, perfect. Just rotate and move them, and there we go. Let's move this guy. So 180. Let's move them maybe 90 degrees here. Okay. Or maybe 180 degrees. So okay, 180 degrees, and set a keyframe. Select everything. I hope it didn't break. So yeah, it did, and it's quite weird because we kind of did some weird motions. So let me go ahead and kind of do this thing over again. I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to actually Control Z a few times just to make sure. There we go. So we have this. It's working fine. So let's go ahead and maybe this time I'm going to select these guys here. Okay, move it. I'm going to frame 180. Now let's go ahead and rotate them. There we go. And select everything. Oh, it breaks. It breaks very quick this time. You see? So we can add another set, but I think 8 motion is enough. So let's go ahead and just Control Z. There we go. 160 would be enough here. So perfect. Now, so there we go. Just 1 motion for this third set. Now, how are we going to kind of blend these guys together? It's going to be kind of very simple. We're going to add some keyframes. So if I select this first null, it's going to be up to 80. So I'm going to my basic, and I'm going to frame 79 here. And let's go ahead and turn these guys on. So this guy is going to be on default. So I'm going to turn and visible in editor and visible in render. I'm going to animate them, and then I'm going to frame 80 and going to turn this off, okay, and set another keyframe. And then at frame 79, the second set is going to be turned off, and at frame 80 is going to be turned on. So let's go ahead and just change it to default. There we go. And for the third set is going to be it's going to be up to 160. So let's go ahead and go to frame 140, 139. So that this second set is going to be turned off at frame 140. So at frame 139, we're going to add 2 other keyframes. Go to frame 140, and let's go ahead and turn them off. Okay. Sorry, there we go. Let's set a keyframe, and then I'm going to our third one is going to be off at frame 139. So make sure it's off, and at frame 140 is going to be turned on. Okay, so now we're going to be having a perfect solution. Let me just save the scene here. Okay, let's go ahead and hit play and see what we're gonna get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So as you can see, we got one. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 motion. Okay, perfect. And we have blended them together. Now another very exciting problem here is obviously we are not going to be working with just these simple cubes. We are going to replace these cubes, and it's going to be kind of hard how I'm going to basically parent, for example, if I want to have a sphere here instead of this cube, how I'm going to parent this sphere to this cube, because this cube is its existence is up until frame 80, and from 80 we have another cube from our second set replacing this cube. So let me show you what is the problem here. So I'm going to take this cube as a prototype here. Okay, so let's come down here, and this is cube number 24. Let's see, I'm going to have a cube that is closer to, let's see, this is our cube number 6. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and work on this cube. I'm going to just quickly create a sphere here. Okay, and let's get the sphere up and running to where we want. I'm just going to put it maybe about here. Let's go, and its exact position is going to be -195, because the 195 is our key number here. So -195, and I'm going to increase its size. Okay, now I can go ahead and parent and make this sphere to be a child of this cube. So it simply would be like this. Okay, so if I go ahead and hit play again, you can see this sphere is actually going to work. But from frame 80, as you can see, because we're changing the set, basically we turning off the sphere and we're replacing this cube with another cube in our second set. So how are we going to solve this problem? I'm going to solve this problem using the constraint tag. So let's go ahead and get back here to frame, and let's frame default here. So here is our cube number 2, and let's see what we're going to do here. Here's our sphere. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and add a constraint tag to this guy. So I'm going to right click on this character tag, and we're going to add a constraint. Okay, perfect. And the type of constraint is going to be parent, and we're going to parent, and the first target, this is the sphere at the moment, is 195, -195, -195. So it's basically okay, that's gonna be good, but I'm going to kind of putting it in here at the moment. So let's go ahead and make sure the y is 195. Okay, So the cube 8 is gonna be what we're gonna be working with. Okay, so let's go ahead and this is our cube 8. Perfect. Let's go ahead and work on this thing. So the cube 8 is gonna be the target. So let's put this cube 8, and this is gonna be from frame 0 to frame 80. So I'm going to frame 79 here. Okay, set a keyframe at frame 80. Okay, where we basically change the set. Now you can see our first set is disabled and we have our second set. And if I select the sphere and come down here, you can see it's cube number 26. So we're going to parent, let's go ahead to our constraint tag here, and let's at frame 80 we're going to be replacing our cube number 8 from set 1 to cube number 26 from our second set. So let's go ahead and animate that, and this is gonna stay up to frame 140. So I'm going to frame 139 here. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to animate this thing, go to frame 140. Now we have our third set basically enabled, and this is the cube that we are interested in, which is cube number 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this guy, and we're going to put our cube number 24 in here, animate it. Perfect. Now as you can see, if I hit play, we are going to, let me just save this scene here. If I hit play, you can see the sphere is gonna stay perfectly, and it's gonna be perfect. You can see, very great. And I can go ahead and make this sphere kind of a bit bigger. There we go. So you can see it's much more simpler. There we go. And we have our sphere completely integrated with our 3 sets of cubes. Perfect. So basically this is the workflow that we're going to be using, and I don't know whether it's simple or complex, but this is the simplest way that I could come up with, really. My original design was a lot of rigging and espresso, and it was really confusing, but this is very easy because you know, it's really easy. I mean, you just animating some cubes, you just need to have some things in mind, and if you find it complex, just go ahead and rewind and watch with this lesson again. Now from the next section, we're actually going to start to basically work on the motion design and see what we're going to be doing, and hopefully after a few hours we're going to have a very awesome and complex motion design. So see you there. Okay folks, so let's go ahead and start working on our animation. You can go ahead and open up the file 0301, and this file is going to be our starting point for our motion design. It's basically what we had in our basically first lesson. I'm just having my cubes without having any sort of motion, so just really nothing here. And also I have this camera hierarchy just to help us out with the motion, and this is the camera from the main design. You see we have this main camera, we have a camera that contains some position keyframes, and we have a camera that contains some rotation keyframes. Okay, so great. So some basic information, we can go ahead and you know, use it to kind of block out our animation here. So what I'm going to be doing is kind of starting the with the motion that we have and working on it. So let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to be creating in this lesson. Let me open up the file here. So here's the motion that we're going to be creating in this lesson. You see this first cube that comes in, see there, and this second cube you can see from left to right. Take a look here. So these two motion, we're going to be kind of blocking them out. It's going to be really easy, so let's go ahead and do that. So this is our first cube that we're basically going to animate, you see, and that's our second cube that comes into play. So let's go ahead and start working on this. Let me go and come out of the camera and working on this cube. The first thing, as you saw, there was a simple rotation at the beginning of our motion, and because the cube axis point is at this 0 point, if you're going to kind of rotate it, this is what you're gonna have. So it's not really gonna work the way you want it to. So what I wanted to do is do the following. I'm going to select this cube 26 and go to my objects and hold down Alt and create a null. Now we have this null for cube 26, okay, which is its axis point is exactly at 0, 0, 0, and we have this cube 26 and its axis point is at the same point, but we want to for this cube in order to have a rotation around its axis, we need to make sure its axis is centered to its volume. So what we're going to be doing is select this guy, go to your mesh, axis center, and center axis 2. Now we have a cube, we have a null as a parent for this cube. So if we wanted to kind of rotate kind of a Rubik's motion, we can go ahead and simply use this null, and if we want to kind of rotate the cube around its volume, we can go ahead and simply use the cube itself. So this is going to be really useful. So let's go ahead, and maybe about 25 frame would be enough for this guy. So if you take a look at a camera, you can see at about frame maybe 30. Yeah, 30 is enough. So let's go ahead and select this cube, go to frame 30, and we want to move it on Z axis. So I'm going to add a keyframe. Just click on this bottom here, and let's go ahead, come back to frame 0, and I'm just going to move this thing on Z, okay, and make sure you're basically moving the cube. So let's go ahead and kind of move it maybe to about here. If I get back to the camera, you can see this is what we have. I think it's a bit too far. Somewhere around here would be kind of enough. And as you can see, one important note here is the camera's focal length is about 15 millimeters. So we have this wide sort of look here. Great. So let's get back to the cube here. I'm going to, let's go ahead to something like 740, and I'm going to the cube coordinates, and let's go ahead and set a keyframe for this guy too. So here's the motion that we have. Okay, very simple. Perfect. So maybe, great, maybe we can actually go to about here. So let's go ahead and actually 30, maybe 5. So let's go ahead and actually move this keyframe to frame 35 here. Okay, perfect. And now we need to add the rotation. So let's go ahead and select this thing, and we want to rotate it on heading. Yeah, so let's go ahead and maybe about 13 frame, about here I want the rotation to be finished. So let's go ahead and add a keyframe on our heading. So 0 here, get back, and maybe go to something like maybe negative 45 here, or let's go to something like 60 and set another keyframe. So this is the motion that we have at the moment. Okay, very nice and simple. It comes, rotates, and I just want to make the rotation a bit more dramatic. I mean, you can block out the whole animation and then come back to this detail, but I kind of personally like to do some kind of detailed work on my motions as I go through them. So let me go ahead and select this rotation, go to the animation and show the F curve. Let's go ahead and select this first keyframe, and I'm going to kind of speed it up so it's going to be a bit more quicker at the beginning and then slows down gradually. So this is what we're going to get. We have this kind of first motion, first quick rotation, and then it comes to its rest. Okay, perfect. Now the next thing is this second cube that comes from this side here, from -x. So let's go ahead and actually animate and rotate that. Maybe it would be okay if it's kind of finish its motion maybe about here. So at maybe frame 35, what we had for this guy, or maybe a bit late. Let's go to something like maybe 40. Okay, so let's go select the cube 5 and we want to move it on X. So let's go ahead and positive create a keyframe on X. Now let's go to maybe here. See when it's completely out of our camera view. Now let's go ahead and move it on negative X. So let's go ahead and back it off maybe to something like this. Okay, and here's this keyframe. I'm gonna get back, and there we go. I'm just going to actually hide this cube for the moment. So let's go ahead and hide this, and so let's see what we're gonna get. And I think it would be okay just to go ahead and change the aspect ratio to be HDTV. Okay, so there we go. And now if I hit play, this is what we're gonna get. The first thing is kind of bothers me here. As you can see, the cube from this side, if I go hit Shift V and go to my view and increase the opacity here, you can see this cube here is kind of visible, and it's quite obvious that it's staying still there, and as soon as the camera comes it starts a motion, which is really not that nice, I guess. So what I'm going to be doing is kind of, let's go ahead and if I select the cube number 25, let's see, motion, if I move this keyframe to frame 0, let's go ahead and 0, let's go to something like negative 200. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen this time. So we hit play. Now it's better, and it's a small thing. It's gonna be a bit hard to actually see what's going on with this. And I mean, we can go ahead and reduce this value if we want to, so it's kind of a bit more in motion. Or what we can do is kind of move this keyframe from 0 to a negative value like negative 20 or negative 30. So this way it's going to be in motion already when the timeline starts. But I think let's see, hit play. Okay, that's, I guess, is enough. You know, yeah, that's going to be enough. And another thing we can do possibly is to move this camera a bit to the right to kind of hide this thing, but it's not that important. And what I can do with this cube, again, if I go ahead and open up its F curve, I can make the motion to start a bit faster again. So it's going to be in motion from the very beginning, and it's not going to gradually start to, if it was like this, if it was like this, it would gradually start to motion and then speeds up and then slows down. But if we change the curve and the handle to be like this, so it's already in motion and then it slows down as it goes through the timeline. So if I go ahead, get back and hit play, you can see from the very beginning it started motion, even though it was a bit too exaggerated. So I'm going to open it up again. So let's go ahead, show the F curve here. Maybe something like this is more than enough. And so hit play. Perfect. So this is our first motion, and we're going to continue our design from the next lesson. So see you there. Okay folks, let's go ahead and talk about creating these complex cubes before actually we continue doing our motion. And if I hit play, you can see we have two types of complex cubes. This type that, as you can see, our cube is made up of our of a very smaller cubes, you can see. And the second type, which is this cubes, which is kind of like this, you see there. And the pieces are coming together and finally create the final cube there, okay? So let's go ahead and work on those two types. I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly, and let's go ahead and start working on this, guys. So I'm going to, this is our first type, so I'm going to type 190. Make sure you have selected all the X, Y, and Z, so Control and Enter, and then I'm going to enable the fillet 2 cm. There we go. Great. So the next thing is to kind of hit C to convert this. Let's go to our front view. I'm going to select my edge components here, and I'm going to select the rectangular selection. Make sure you have tolerance selection enabled and only select visible element turned off. I'm going to select all of the edges and hit MF, and edge cut tool, I'm going to disable this value. I'm going to something like maybe 10 in this case. I'm just going to show you how to do it, and so let's go to something like 10 here, and let's go ahead and apply that. And the next thing is to go ahead and select these polys and separate them. So I'm going to go ahead and select this first guys, hold down Control and deselect this type, this part, and hit U and P to split. Now you can see we have another set of another cube. So select the second raw and hit UP. Select the third raw, hold on Control, UP, and you continue doing this until you have separated. So let's go ahead and hold on Control, and again UP, and we're going to be doing this for all the parts. So let's go ahead, UP and UP. Let's go to this part also, and finally just make sure, let's hold on Control and remove this selection and hit UP. Now we have 10 extra parts, and we can go ahead and let's go ahead and hide everything and work. This is our original cube, so okay. Now we can now simply go ahead and basically close this polys, because if you go ahead and for example select this guy, you can see it has no polys in its upper or bottom section. So let's go ahead and create those polys for all of them and basically close them and lock them down. So I'm going to go to my poly and go to my MD, to my basically close poly tool, and let's go ahead and do this for other parts. Perfect. Let's go ahead and here we go, and let's go ahead and select and create the other guys. There we go, it's closed. So select this guy and perfect, and let's go ahead and select this one and close it, hide it, unhide this one, and do this for all of your cubes. Now this type, this type that we are working on is kind of simple to create, but the next type, which was very small cubes, it's gonna be much more complex. I mean, not really much more complex. It's gonna be very time consuming for you if you want to create it, even though I'll be providing the model and you don't have to do it, but if you had to do it, it would actually take a lot of time to actually create. So let's go ahead and unhide everything, and now we have this nice polys. Let's go ahead and hide the original cube, and now we can go ahead and simply apply some sort of fracture and stuff like that we're going to be doing in the next lesson, and kind of move these pieces and separate them. So you can see, very simple. Now we have all of these parts basically making our cube here. Now this is our first type, so I'm gonna Alt G. This is our first step. Now the second tab, let's go ahead and create another cube here, and exactly the same size, so 190 centimeter, fillet 2 centimeter, and I'm gonna go hit NB to go to my guard shading lines, and then I'm gonna add some segments. Now we're gonna be recreating basically these guys. Now right now we're gonna be trying to kind of create this guy. You can see they're small cubes, and as I said, it's really gonna be time consuming, and we're not gonna be able to create this whole thing, even though I'm gonna providing you with the this model and these pieces, and you can use it simply in your design. But generally speaking, it's gonna be really time consuming. Let me show you how we are going to be doing this. First of all, you define how many cubes you want. Let's go to 6 and 6 and 6 for all of the sides here, and the next thing is to kind of convert this. So let's hit C. There we go. Now let's go ahead and split this part. So let's go ahead and go to the let's go ahead and select this guys. There we go. Now that's what we have at the moment. I'm going to hit U and P and this is we have basically splitted this part. I'm going to hide this original version, and now we have this basically side alone, and now we're going to separate each and every one of these cubes, you know. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit M and D and close this poly, and then I'm gonna hit K to my knife tool, make sure it's online, and I'm going to basically connecting these vertices together. So let's go ahead and there we go. Let's start here and come up there, and just make sure it snaps. You can see when you hover over a point, it kind of highlights it, and then you can click and drag until you get another vertex. And let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Now let's do it horizontally. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's see. There we go. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and see what we can do here. And I'm going to now select these polys and see what we are gonna be doing. Let's go ahead and separate this time this side here. So let's go ahead to here, and I'm going to hit U and P again. Okay, let's go ahead and hide this guy, and now we are here. Again, we need to close the polys for this guy, so I'm gonna hit M and D, and then again use the knife tool, and let's go ahead and connect this guy. So just let's see. There we go. And perfect. Now you have this, and you are going to split it again. I mean, it's a very time-consuming process, but the good thing is, let me just walk you through a few of these guys. So let's go ahead and maybe select these polys here, and then you hit U and P again, and let's go ahead and hide this one, and simply you have this poly, and you go to MD and just make sure, and you can close it. And let's go ahead and hide this, unhide this, and let's go ahead and select maybe these guys this time and hit U and P. Let's go ahead and hide this and select this, and simply go to your close poly tool, and there we go. Now you have two of these guys very simply, and you can go ahead and create as many as you want really simply. So the axis point is right now here, so you can see it's very simple, and we basically have created two of these cubes. Now if you take a look at the original cube here, let's go ahead and unhide that. You can see what you can do. I mean, if you want to go through and create all of those cubes, it's gonna be forever. You got about 6 cubes here, 6 cubes there, 6 cubes down. It's a huge number. I guess it's about 200, 220, something like this, and it's really going to be time consuming. But what you can do, guys, is for example, when you create this a raw here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 of these guys, you can go ahead and simply control drag them and copy them, and this raw will be created, and you go ahead and do the whole thing. And when you, for example, are in this side and you're working on this raw here, this guys here, and you finish one, you can go ahead and copy it down and create a few copy. And if you create this one whole column here, this about 36 of these guys, you can go ahead and simply copy the whole raw 1 2 3 times, and here you're going to be able to just copy them, and it's going to be very simple. So this is the way I did it originally, and it was a bit quicker, but generally speaking, it's a really time consuming process when you want to have these nice and custom cubes. And this is unfortunately the only way to do it. I'm not aware of any plugin that's gonna be able to do that, but generally speaking, this is the way you are gonna be doing it. You don't have to do it, because I'm gonna provide you with the model, which is gonna be just this one, and the also this small cube. So this one, and the second type, which is gonna be this one here. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're gonna start putting these guys into our motion and see how we can kind of animate them using fracture and integrate them with our whole motion. So see you there. Okay folks, let's go ahead and continue creating our motion design, and in this lesson we're going to be creating the first part of those small cubes. So what I've done here in between lessons, I just went ahead and imported this model. Let's go ahead and hide everything else, and here's the model that we have, and it simply is, as you can see, we have some small cubes. I can go ahead and maybe select this guy here. You see, let's go ahead and maybe select this guys. You see, it's just very small cubes. You can go ahead and as I showed you in our previous lesson, I just went ahead and created a whole cube and I imported it here, and then I just simply created a fracture object, okay, and put all of these small cubes into that fracture object and rename the fracture object to small cubes 01, and make sure the fracture object under object and under mode is set to explode segments and connect. Okay, so that's what we need to do for the moment. So let's go ahead and unhide everything else. Now what I want to do, as you can see, right now it's in here, which is perfect, and as you can see, the position of this guy is at 195, 195, and negative 195. I'm just going to create a null, and I'm not going to animate this fractures objects position or rotation wise. I'm just going to add a plane effector and work on it. But in order to kind of be able to have a better motion, if you wanted to kind of individually move it, I'm going to make it to be a child of a null. So let's go ahead and create a null, and I'm going to put the null pivot point exactly at this center point, which is, let me just, it's a 195, 195, and negative 195. So 195, 195, and negative 195. Okay, so the null is exactly at this point, which is perfect. And we're going to just rename this thing maybe to small cubes, and we're going to put this fracture under this null. Okay, now we have this null exactly at the center point, and the next thing is we are actually going to put this to be a parent of our cube number 8. So let's go ahead and put it down here. Perfect. And now we have our cube, and if we move it, the whole thing will move. Now it's time to actually go ahead and add some effector so we can actually move those small cubes. So we have this fracture objects, and let's go ahead and add the effector. So I'm going to go to my MoGraph effectors, and let's go ahead and add a plane effector. So let's go ahead and add a plane. I'm going to open up the camera and put this plane effector here. So it's a child of our null and our cube, and it moves as we move the whole structure. And let's go ahead and work on this. Plane for, just rename that small cubes 01, and we're just gonna make sure that it has been added. Perfect. Let's go to the plane effector. I'm going to first of all change this to be a linear fall off. I'm gonna get out of the camera, and let's kind of see where is our, there we go, here is our plane effector. I'm just going to kind of rotate the things a bit. So as you can see now, we can see those small cubes. Perfect. Let's go ahead and kind of maybe rotate them this way. Just going to make it a bit bigger. And now let's go ahead and change some of the parameters for this plane effector. So under parameters, I think something like this, maybe something like this, not too much really, but just let's go maybe on X, we need to go through a bit, and on Y a bit more. I'm going to enable my rotation and rotate them as they kind of rest in their final position. So let's go ahead and maybe change this guys to something like that. And also I'm going to enable my scale, uniform scale, and put it -1. Perfect. And now we can simply go ahead and animate our plane effector and get this motion. Okay, perfect. Nice. Now what I want to do is to kind of hide this cube 8 because we don't need it, and I'm going to enable the other pieces that we have here. Perfect. Now if you take a look, we can go ahead and simply animate this cube. I'm gonna go ahead to my camera and see what exactly we have if I move this guy. So if I come down here, okay, it's not too bad. Especially the camera is still moving, so we're gonna be finishing it in a place like this. So there we go. So perfect, nice. So let's go ahead and animate the plane effector. So I'm going to select the plane effector, go to the coordinate manager, and create a keyframe for the X and Y and Z. And this position is gonna be at about, maybe let's go to something like 30, and as you can see it moves, so it should be finished by about frame 70. So let's go ahead and select our plane effector. I am hoping that I can kind of move it. So let's go ahead and get out of the camera for a moment, and let's move it on Z. Perfect. Let's go ahead and animate them, create a keyframe. If I get back to the camera, and if you take a look, so here's the motion that we have. Okay, perfect. The only problem, it's actually perfect. Yeah, it's about frame 30, so we hit play, and okay, that's perfect. Now we are going to be continuing, and in the next lesson we're going to be creating another part of our motion design. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna, first of all, let's go ahead and save this scene, and we continue our course from our next lesson. So see you there. Okay folks, let's go ahead and continue our motion design. So here is what we're going to be creating. Let's get back here. I'm going to be trying to recreate from here to here, and this part also, in the kind of this slices of this cube kind of build up. We're going to be creating this too. Okay, so let's go ahead and start working on it. I'm going to so here's our camera. The first thing I wanted to kind of change is this first plane effector. I wanted to finish kind of a bit late, you know, it's finishing about frame 60. I want to finish about frame 70. I think it would be better. So let me go ahead and select this keyframe here. It's at 70. I'm going to put it at about 80, and if I now we go through, as you can see now, it's better. So it's about frame 80. It's perfect. Now we're going to be actually rotating this master controller. Let's go ahead and actually rename this thing to here. Okay, now before doing anything, we have imported this second set of our cube. If I get out of this camera, and here it is, and it's exactly where our cube number 18 is, this cube here. There we go. If I move it, sorry, I have my axis point enabled. Let's go ahead, here's the cube number 18. So let's go ahead and as we did for this first set of our cubes, the small cubes, we're going to be putting this guy into a null. So let's go hold on Alt and create a null, and let's go ahead and just copy the name here and paste it on our null. And also we're going to be parenting this to our cube number 18. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to middle click on this and put this under my cube 18. Perfect. Now when we move our cube 18, the whole system will actually move. Okay, so this is perfect. Now let's go ahead and work on our motion at about frame 80. So let's go to frame 80. I'm going to my master 01. Okay, and let's start animating the position and the rotation. So let's set a keyframe for them at frame 80 and for the rotations also. And I'm going to let's see, at about frame 100, about 20 frame here, we're going to be rotating this guy. Let's go to something like maybe 100, maybe 115 is kind of enough. And on pitch, so let's go ahead and rotate it about negative 180. Now as you can see, we have our cube number 18. So let's go ahead and maybe negative 118. I don't know, maybe something like this is enough. And also on Z, let's go ahead and maybe few degrees. On Y, I'm going to maybe move it up a bit, maybe something like this. And on Z, I think maybe a few centimeters will help. Okay, now let's go ahead and set a keyframe for these. And basically here's the motion that we have. So we hit play, and that's the motion, exactly what we want. So hit play, perfect. Now the next thing is to basically animate these, add a fracture object, add a plane effector to the second set of our fracture object and small cubes that we have, and we're going to be animating it. So let's go ahead and add a fracture object. So I'm going to go to my MoGraph effector, sorry, a plane effector, and let's put this plane effector, there we go. Let's put it here. I'm going to hide the cube number 18 and make the fracture setup visible so we can see that. Now we have our plane effector. I'm going to select this. I'm going to its parameter. For the moment I'm going to disable the position. I'm going to the fall off and make it linear again, and let's go ahead and move this thing, and okay, here it is. So let's move it maybe to here. I'm going to change the orientation to plus Y or minus Y. Okay, so that's what we have, perfect. And let's go ahead and work on the parameters that we have here. First of all is the scale. So let's go to our uniform scale and put it to -1. Perfect. And if I move it, this is what you're going to get. And the next thing is to work on the rotation. Maybe something like 100 degrees is kind of enough. And the next thing is to kind of change the size of our fall off on Y. I'm going to reduce this value to something like this. So this way, in every and each moment, we just have a few cube moving and not all of them, and we're going to be able to create this sort of motion. Okay, I'm going to my parameters, enable the position this time, zero out the Y for the moment. I'm going to move these guys on -X, so we get something like this, and maybe we can go ahead and actually increase the rotation to something like 168. And if I kind of move my plane effector, this is what you're gonna get. Nice. Maybe it's a bit too much on our X. Let's go ahead, maybe reduce this value to something like this, and if I move my plane effector, this is what we're gonna get. Okay, that's very close to what we want. Okay, now let's go ahead and animate this. If you take a look at the design here, you can see, if I take a look here, it's kind of, it's very slow. You see it's never finishes, and it's kind of there. Let's go ahead and hit play here. You see, let's get back a bit more, maybe to about here, and hit play. Okay, you see, when we get there, a few slices has finished their movement, and these guys are trying to finish the cube, but they're moving kind of slow. And as you can see, even though we change the animation and we move the camera to this side, these guys are still trying to build up. And if I go ahead and take a look, you can see, even though we have finished the motion and changed the basically we moved the whole structure, they are still they haven't finished yet. So this is what I'm gonna be trying to do. So let's go ahead to, so frame 100 is where we get there, and we need to have a few cubes and a few slices already built. So what we're gonna be doing is to let's get out of the camera so we kind of can manage this thing a bit easier. So let's go ahead and get back to here. Okay, so I'm going to frame, let's see, let's maybe create a keyframe here. So let's go to coordinates. I'm going to select all the positions and set a keyframe, and I'm going to move this keyframe to frame 0. Okay, so when we get there, we have already had something, And let's go ahead and select this plane again, and let's kind of move it up. Oh, that's not the right one. That's the wrong one actually. Let's make sure we haven't messed up the. Let's go ahead and select this plane. So we have this. Let's go ahead and finish it up, set a keyframe again, but this keyframe needs to be maybe about, let's go to, I'm not sure really, but let's go to something like 330 maybe. So let's see if I get back to my camera. Okay, when we move the whole structure and rotate it, we have a few cubes already finished, maybe one cube. And here where the camera again, you see changes. So let's take a look. Okay, so we kind of need to about 60 frames, something like this. So come down here. Okay, perfect. So let's come down here. Okay, so it's about frame 100 we receive here, and if I take a look at this plane again, we have this keyframe. We can go ahead and maybe frame 0 maybe. Let's go ahead and if I put this thing about here for the moment, get back there, we can kind of go ahead and maybe do something like this. So just get back here. So we come here and we have a cube build up. Perfect. So that's close to what we want, and now we can go ahead and continue by adding different motions. And as you can see, it's kind of slow, exactly what we want. And we can, for example, about here, change to this other side of our whole structure. So see you in the next lesson, and we're going to be trying to build the rest of our motion. So stay tuned with mographplus.com, and I see you in the next lesson. Okay folks, welcome back. Now in this lesson we're going to be creating a very small animation, but it's going to be essential. Let's go ahead and hit play. If you take a look, this place is empty, and this cube comes and fill that place. So if I hit play, and we're going to be just recreating that small motion. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. This is the cube in question. It's cube number, if I take a look and get out of the camera, sorry. So here is the cube number. Basically, let's see which one is this. It's cube number 22. So let's get back to the camera here, and let's go to maybe frame about 100 when this motion is finished. So let's set a keyframe, add frame for the position Z. As you can see, we're going to be moving this cube on Z. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe at maybe about 40 frame. So at about frame 140 it should be at its place. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe, and I'm going to get back to frame 100. I'm going to just pull it out until we can't see it. There we go, and set a keyframe at frame 100. Now if you take a look, so let's get back, you see we can see it here. You see, this is a huge problem that we're going to need to solve it. But if I hit play, it comes, there we go, and it goes. But the problem, as you can see, we can kind of see this cube at the beginning of our design. So what we can do very simply is to add a simple display tag, so it won't be visible until frame 100. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to cube number 22, and I'm going to right click on this Cinema 4D tag, add a display tag, and I'm going to enable the basically the visibility. Okay, or we can go ahead and actually just enable or disable it if we want, even though without having any display tag, just simply turn it off in the editor and the renderer. But just this display tag kind of help to keep our scene a bit more organized, and it helped to kind of remember what we have done. So I'm going to first of all enable this visibility, okay, and at frame 100 the visibility should be 0 before from 0 to 100. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe, and at frame 101 we're going to be increasing this visibility to 100. And if I get back now to here, you can see we can't see this cube here, and we basically make it disappear. And if I hit play, we go through, we rotate, and as you can see now the cube come into place. Perfect. So that was it, and now we're going to be doing our next step and moving the whole structure a bit, about 20-30 degrees, and add the small cubes instead of this big cube number 20 that we have here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay folks, let's go ahead and continue our design, and in this lesson we're going to be creating this motion, exactly this motion. So we basically go ahead and move our camera, okay, this way, and actually we rotate this middle section here. So if I take a look and hit play again, there we go. That's what we're going to be recreating, and not this small cubes yet. We're going to be doing it in the next lesson, but for the moment you can see we can simply go ahead and create this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. The first thing I wanted to kind of change and kind of work on it is the basic. We can actually go ahead and animate the camera. You can see we got this camera, and it's kind of, you know, working fine. But what I'm going to be doing is moving this master controller. I don't want it to kind of stay completely still as we kind of move this. I want to have kind of some sort of motion. So this is when we kind of move it and rotate it very severely at about frame 100. And about frame 140 we want to kind of rotate it to this other side. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of change it really small, so it has some small motion all the time. So let's go to maybe frame 140, about here. So let's go ahead and do some very basic maybe changes, just maybe something like this to maybe make it nicer. Or let's go ahead and maybe this side a bit. Let's go ahead and create a keyframe for the position and for the rotations, and just a very simple small movement so we don't stay still all the time. Okay, then I'm going to frame 140, and about maybe 10-15 frame we're going to maybe 150 here, and let's go ahead and change some of the values for this guy. So let's go to frame 150, so it's 10 frame, and let's select this master controller. Let's maybe kind of get back a bit, and let's put it down somehow, and let's go to our Z and kind of get to this side about maybe something like this would be enough, because we're going to kind of rotate it. So let's go ahead and kind of rotate it to this side. Something like 60-65 degrees would be enough. And let's go ahead maybe negative 170, and let's go ahead maybe go to something like -4. So this is kind of good. If I go ahead and take a look, we are having this motion, so boom, perfect. Now we're going to add other motions, so it's not gonna stay that, you know, quick boom sudden stop. We're gonna actually remove that, but for the moment let's go ahead and animate this middle section here. So let's go ahead and what we want to do about frame 142, I think it's good. So let's go to 142. I'm going to get out of the camera, and I'm going to select the cubes that are here. So let's go ahead and hold on shift and select them. So we're basically doing our first Rubik's motion here. So let's go ahead and select all of these cubes, and the cube that is in the center is cube number 13. Let's make sure we got the right selection. Perfect. And let's go ahead and animate this guy's rotation. So let's go ahead and select all of the rotation. And okay, so we have this motion at the moment. So let's go to 142. I guess it's enough. I'm going to animate this, guys. Let's actually get back to our camera, and about 15 frame I think is gonna be enough. So let's go to 157, and we're going to rotate this, guys. If I get back here, just make sure you got the right selection, and we're going to rotate them, you see. So let's go to 157, and if you rotate them, you can see it's gonna be problematic. Let's get out of the camera and just make sure we have the right selection here, and I'm going to rotate this, guys, 90 degrees. See, it's kind of problematic. Let's see what we have selected wrong. We might have a wrong selection here. That's why it's gonna stay. Let's see what we are going to select. If I move these, guys, we are definitely changing some other things. Let's go ahead and make sure we have the right selection here. Again, everything looks to be fine, and if I go ahead and rotate them, sorry, they are, as you can see, they are fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to frame 157, and let's start selecting these cubes again. Let's see. Cube number 13. I'm gonna get back to the camera. There we go. And let's rotate them about 90 degrees. Okay. And let's go ahead and set a keyframe for them. So this is what we're gonna get. I think the camera motion should kind of start a bit later, the master null motion. So I'm going to put this, guys, to maybe, if I get closer here, to about maybe here. So it starts, then the camera moves. Perfect. And okay, so if you take a look, this is what we have at the moment, and perfect. Now we're gonna be creating this other motion where the small cubes kind of create this cube here, and we're gonna be doing that in our next lesson. So I'll see you there. Okay, folks, in this lesson we're gonna be working on this piece here. As you can see, these small cubes are kind of creating our cube. Let's go ahead and work on that. First of all, if I come out of my camera, the cube in question is cube number, I think it was 20, I guess. Yeah, cube number 20, and I've imported basically another piece of these small cubes. As you can see, just some small cubes into a fracture object, and they are exactly centered with our cube number 20. As you can see, 195, negative 195, and 195. I'm just going to select this guy and hold on Alt and add a null. And let's go ahead and Control C the name and copy the name to the null here. And I'm going to put this null to be a child of the cube number 20. Okay. We might be, if our setup breaks, if our Rubik's basically movements break, we might need to change this parenting system to a constraint tag system. But for the moment, let's see how that's going to work out. So here is our null, and we can go ahead and work on the fracture object and see how exactly it happens. Now if I go ahead and get back to my camera, we can go ahead and actually hide the cube number 20 and make sure the the small cubes and the fracture object are kind of visible. Let's get back to our camera, and if I move this thing, there we go. Here we need to kind of animate this thing. Let's go ahead and do that. It's gonna be very simple. Let's go ahead and quickly add a basic, let's go. So I'm going to my MoGraph effector. I'm going to just create a plane effector, and let's go ahead and put this thing in here. Let's go ahead and close this guy and this one too. Okay, now we have this plane effector. Let's go ahead and actually move it in a right place. So let's go ahead and get out of here. As you can see right now, if I select this plane effector, let me kind of move it, and let's go ahead and change its select this plane effector, change the fall off again to linear, and this is what we have. Great. Let's go ahead and move this thing and see what exactly we want to do. Now if I get back to the camera, you can see we have this fall off and we can work it out. Let's go ahead and kind of maybe move it a bit. It doesn't really matter that much. We're just going to work on it. So let's go ahead, go to our plane effector. I'm going to the parameters, and I'm going to zero out the Y, and I'm going to move it on X, so like this. Okay, and if I go ahead and move this, you see this is what we got at the moment. Let me go to change my plane and change its orientation to, if I go to plus X, it's gonna be I guess plus Z is the best case in this. Let's see, maybe negative Z. So that's what we're gonna get at the moment. You know, kind of close to what we want. Let's go ahead and work on it. I'm going to first of all make the parameter enable the scale, uniform scale, and make sure it's -1. Okay, so as we move them, you can see they kind of come into play. And I really, as you can see in the design, get back here a bit, you can see these cubes are really random, and they you know, fill the places not in a really regular way. They are really, as you can see, irregularly basically come into their places. So let's go ahead and do that. Now in order to do that, you can see at the moment they are really exact and really kind of unnatural maybe, but let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to select this plane effector, the fracture object, sorry. Okay, and let's go ahead and apply a random effector. Let's go ahead and make sure the random effector, even though it doesn't matter in this case, I'm just going to put it there. And let's select this fracture, make sure the random is applied before the plane. Okay, and then I'm going to this random effector, and I'm gonna disable the position, and I'm just going to randomize the weight of this cube, so maybe something like this. Okay, now if I go ahead and move the fall off, you can see they are going to be like this. Nice. Now let's get back here. So about let's see, I'm going to go to my plane. Kind of want them to be a bit farther away, and also maybe we can apply some sort of rotation, a few degrees, just maybe something like this, and maybe a bit on Y, and maybe a bit on Z, something like this maybe is enough. And now if I move my plane, you see we get this motion. Perfect. Nice. So let's go ahead and maybe about here, it's a good point. Let's get back to about 135, I think. So let's go ahead and I'm going to select all of the position values and set a keyframe, and maybe go to frame maybe 200 and see, maybe here we want to finish them, maybe something like this. Okay, and set another keyframe. So basically this is what we have. Hit play, and there we go. Maybe I don't know, looks a bit unnatural, and I guess we can kind of make this thing to be a bit quicker. So let's hit play again. That's much more better. And at the moment it seems a bit unnatural, but when we go to After Effects and start compositing, we're going to be adding motion blur to this data, and they're going to be looking much more natural. So no worries at all. If I hit play, So this is what we are kind of having. Okay, nice. So this is it, and we're gonna be we're gonna go ahead and continue our design and hopefully finish the whole motion design in a few lessons, and then we can start adding more detail and prepare our scene for lighting and rendering. So see you in the next lesson. Okay folks, welcome back. Now in this lesson we're going to be creating the motion from here. From here you see this big rotation, and also this part here that you can see. Okay, so from here we're going to be rotating the whole structure, and then we're going to be creating this part, this fractures here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Here we are inside Cinema 4D, and we have finished this motion, so that's what we have at the moment. Great. Now let's go ahead and add about frame 175. Okay, I'm going to select my master here, and I'm going to start the basically the rotation from 175. So let's go ahead and select this guy, and I'm going to select the position, and also let's set a keyframe here, and also select the rotation and set a keyframe, and we're going to you know, maybe about 15 frame. Let's go to something like 190, 191, something like this, and we're going to rotate and move our master controller and to the other side. So let's go ahead and rotate this. Let's go to something like let's see, maybe negative, something like here. This is the cube, not exactly this one. Let's go ahead, we still need to go the other side, and let's go to maybe just negative 174, 75, let's see, something like that. And for here, let's go ahead, so something like maybe this is the cube in question, cube number 6 exactly. So let's go ahead and rotate these values, and sorry, I just made a mistake. We're going to make sure the values are here. So it was negative 75, yeah, and then negative 177, and finally negative 174. Okay, and let's go ahead and set a keyframe for them, and now we have this motion, you see. So if I hit play, boom, perfect. Now when we actually, it's a bit unnatural because it's so quick, but when we actually go to After Effects and add the motion blur, it's gonna look so nice and natural. So let's go ahead to here, and let's see, and let's change these values a bit. I'm gonna go ahead to kind of move my whole structure a bit down, maybe something like this, and maybe, okay, I think that's nice. Let's go ahead and set a keyframe for these guys too, and here is what we got. Perfect. Now the next thing is to go ahead and actually add the kind of those slice of cubes, those fracture that we had in here. And if I get back to frame 0, the cube in question is cube number 6, and if I come here, I have this side fracture 04, which is as you can see just the same thing that we had before. So if I go ahead and let me just delete this tag here and get out of my camera. So here is the this side fracture, and it exactly is in the position of our cube number 6, and if you take a look, it's negative 195, 195, and negative 195. Let's go ahead and add a null, and I'm going to Control C and Control V here. Here is our null, and let's go ahead and make this to be a child of our cube number 6. So let's go ahead and do that, cube number 6. And if I get back to my camera, and if you go through, there we go. Here is our fractures. We can go ahead and hide cube number 6 and also enable the null and the fractures. Now let's go ahead and quickly add a fall off here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this null and go to MoGraph, effector, hold down shift and add a plane effector. Let's go put this plane effector down here. I'm going to my side fracture 04, go to the effector, and also let me just make sure rename this plane so we don't confuse. There we go. And I'm going to select the side fracture and put this plane side fracture 04 in here. Perfect. Now the only thing I'm going to do is to zero out the values for this plane effector, so it's going to be exactly here. So let's go ahead and zero out all of these values and hit enter. And as you can see, if I change the fall off to be a linear fall off, you can see what we have here. I'm going just to change this to, let's see, positive X or positive Y. Yeah, that's what we want. And if I move this, you can see this is what we get at the moment. Perfect. Let's go ahead and work on the parameters a bit. I'm going to a negative value, maybe something like this. And also I'm going to change the positive Y to be negative Y. Okay. And let's go to the parameters and let's, yeah, I think we were wrong. Let's go to these fall off for the moment and still negative Y. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and enable the, for the moment, enable the scale, uniform scale, and as always -1. So that's what we have. And let's go to the fall off and change it to positive Y and see what's going to happen. Perfect. And we can go ahead and kind of move our fall off this way. Perfect. So let's go ahead and work on this. I'm going to make the fall off to be a bit smaller, maybe something like this, and go to the parameters, the position, something like this, not too much really. And also let's go ahead and have some rotation here, maybe something like this. And if we want, we can actually add it this way too. So I can go ahead and simply animate my camera, my plane effector on Y-axis. So very simple. Great. Now let's go ahead and animate that. So at about frame 190, you see we get to here. So it should already, we need to have a few cubes when we land the motion here. So let's go ahead, it's frame 190, right? So let's go ahead and I'm gonna select my plane effector, go to my coordinates. I'm going to move it. So let's go ahead, maybe let's set a keyframe in here. So, and I'm going to about 50 frame maybe. Let's go to frame 250. And let's go ahead and move this thing here and set another keyframe. Okay. And I'm going just to put this guy maybe for about frame 160. So this way when we actually rotate our structure, we already have some cubes. So just make sure, I'm gonna put this value here, maybe about 140. So we have some cube when we go there. Okay, there we go. Perfect. That's what I want. And it's gonna stay, we're gonna be staying here about 20-30 frames. You can see here's the camera moving, and as you can see, we actually didn't talk about the camera animation, and as you can see, I have two node, one for camera rotation and one for the camera position. And the why I really didn't go through the camera animation, it would take forever, and we already have a lot of courses about the camera animation and all of the other courses that we have, the GIFT project, the Box Studio project, and the Real Flow Advanced Motion Graphic in Cinema 4D and Real Flow. We talk extensively about the camera animation, and it would take really forever if we want to, you know, go through the camera's animation and all of those delicate and very nice motion that we have for our camera. It would be impossible. So, and it would really make the animation much more harder if we had to move and animate the camera and the whole structure here. But that's why I just used the camera that I had before, and I imported, and we base our animation on that camera's motion. And if I found it kind of useful, I will kind of go through quickly how to set up your camera very quickly, but the motion of the camera will be here is what we're using it. So let's go ahead and sit back. So that's nice, you know, it's kind of here, and you know, frame 190, we're gonna be at frame 220. So you can see I'm going to maybe put this guy to about 300, so let's see what's gonna happen. Perfect. And 220, and these guys are still working, and our camera is moving, and perfect. So that's what that's great. So let's go ahead and work on the rest of our motion in the next lesson. So see you there. Okay folks, welcome back. Now in this lesson we're going to be creating a few other motions. If you take a look here, this is one of the parts. You see, that's after we, let me just go ahead, let's take a look at what we want. So we are here at the moment, okay? So we're gonna be adding this motion here. You can see this rotation and also this second rotation, okay? So let's go ahead and do that very quickly. So at about frame 190, you see we have this, and here, as you can see, the camera kind of moves and rotates. So maybe about frame 225 is going to be enough for our first motion, and we're going to be selecting these cubes that are in the basically middle part of our cube. So let's go ahead and select them. They are cube, let's see, 21, 12. Let's go ahead and select them from here. I have basically write down the numbers for these cubes, and let's go 3, also 5, 16. So this is 5, this is 16, and let's go 10, 23, 14. So 10, 23, and 14. So we have basically these 9 cubes, and if I go ahead and move them, and 13. So let's go ahead and actually select the 13th. And here is, you can see we have selected all these cubes. Now if I go ahead and select my rotation, I'm going to make sure to basically add a keyframe for these guys, okay? So we have all of these guys, and we're going to go ahead and basically add a keyframe. If you go to your rotation tool, well, we have it here. Okay folks, now we can go ahead and rotate them. If I go ahead and rotate them right now, you can see we're gonna have some problems. You see they're kind of the axis basically is not right. So what you're going to be doing is, if you go to your rotation, select this rotation, and go to your object axis, you have this re-object manipulation and this gimbaling rotation. Let's go ahead and select both of these guys. I'm going to set a keyframe for these 9 cubes that we have selected, and if I go to about 15 frame would be enough, 240, and let's go ahead and maybe rotate them this way. Let's go about 90 degrees. Perfect. Let's set another keyframe, and as you can see we have absolutely no problem, and if I hit play, there we go. So that's what we want. The next thing would be to kind of wait until the camera make this big move. You see, that's the camera movement. If I go ahead and maybe go to the stop view, let's see where we are here. There we go. Here, as you can see, the camera making this big rotation here. That's what we are talking about, you see. So we're basically moving the camera instead of moving the whole structure here. So what I'm going to be doing, let's go ahead and about frame, if you take a look, 265, it's a good starting point to rotating this guy again. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to about 265, and we have those cubes still selected, so I'm going to create another keyframe, and again about 15 frame, 280. I'm going to kind of rotate them again 90 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that and set another keyframe. So if you go ahead and take a look, that's what we have, one motion and the second motion. Perfect, perfect, extremely perfect. Okay folks, now before actually we finish this lesson, I'm going to go ahead and do one extra motion. If you take a look at the design, you see here is the first rotation, here's a second rotation, and if you take a look at the design, we have another rotation here, about here, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So here's the first, the second, and we have still those cubes selected. So I'm going to maybe frame 200 maybe 295, okay, and again set a keyframe for them and go to maybe 200, 350, 300, maybe 10, and rotate these guys again. Perfect. So let's go ahead and set another keyframe for them, and there we go. Perfect. So we hit play. 1, 2, 3, and now we can actually go ahead and do the final motion that we have in the next lesson. So I'll see you there. Okay folks, now in this lesson we're going to be basically finishing the basic motion here, and we're going to be working on this final part of our design. If I go ahead and hit play, I'm in this, you see. If I get back a bit, so let's take a look. This part, okay, we're going to be working on this, so let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start working on this design, and let's see what we want. Maybe about frame 300, and take a look. We have this final motion. 310 I think would be perfect. So let's go ahead and select our master null here, and I'm going to set keyframes. Let me actually enable the position also, and I'm going to set a keyframe for the position and rotation at frame 310, and maybe about 30 frame at 340. Okay, we're going to rotate it. So let's go ahead and rotate these guys. I'm going to something like negative 175, maybe something like this, kind of severe here. And let's go to, I think that's enough for here. Let's go to about I don't know, let's see, maybe about kind of here is enough. And also, okay, that's cool. And the next thing, let's change the position of it a bit. Let's see, on X about 100, 20, 130. Let's see, I guess this is gonna be enough about here. And maybe about, let's go increase the Y a bit, move it up a bit, maybe about here. And I guess something like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and just use this keyframe button here, and that's what we're gonna get. So hit play, move, and boom. Okay, now it seems it might be not that dramatic, but when we actually add these final motions and rotate these guys, finally it's gonna be much more nicer. Boom. Okay, so let's hit play, boom. We can kind of make it a bit quicker if we wanted to, but let's go ahead and work on the rotation of that we have for the upper and this basically down section that we have. So let's go ahead and select these 9 cubes. And one very important problem, as you can see, this cube is empty. So what is that? If you come back to the beginning of our animation, guys, you can see here we basically make this cube disappear, so we don't have any problem with the motion of this cube here. So let's go ahead and work on this cube and find out which cube is this one. So I think it's cube, let's see, it's cube number 24. Yeah, that's this cube, and it's disabled permanently. Let's go ahead and actually enable this, and there we go. I'm going to, instead of this, I'm going to add a simple display tag. Okay, and display tag, let's see where we can make this thing to kind of appear. See, let's see, about here we basically have we don't see anything behind these cubes, and we can make this thing appear. So we're going to enable the visibility, and it's going to be 0 at frame 84, and I'm going to frame 85 and increase this to 100. Okay, now it will appear. You can see at the moment we can't see it, but here it will come to life. And if I go through the whole motion, get back, and this time, as you can see, our cube is working perfectly. Great. Now let's go ahead and add this final motion to this, guys. So let's go maybe to about frame 310 when we actually kind of rotating the whole structure. We can work on these 9 cubes. Now let's go ahead and select these 9 cubes. I have basically I have the list here, so let's go ahead and select them. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and select them. Cube number 2, 11, 27, so 27, 0, 17, so 0, 17, 25, 6, 8, so 25, 6, and 8, and 9, 18, 1, so 9, 18, 1, 4, 26, 19, so 4, 26 is going to be this null, and then 19, 24, 15, so 24 is selected, 15, 22, 15, 22, and there we go, perfect. Now if I go ahead and move this, guys, you can see we have this perfect selection here. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and basically add a keyframe. Okay, and go to maybe frame 325 about here, and let's go ahead and rotate this, guys. Actually, then we can move the keyframe. So let's go ahead and select this, guys, and make sure you have the per object manipulation and gimbaling rotation enabled. And let's go ahead and rotate this, guys, about 90 degrees, and then let's go ahead and set another keyframe, and let's go ahead and kind of zoom in here, and I'm going to move this, select this keyframe and move it to about frame 325 here at your key time, and that's what we're going to be getting. So let's hit play. Perfect. Maybe it's a bit quick, but if you take a look, it's nice. Perfect. I think it's enough, even though it's not exactly like the motion that we have, but I think this one is actually nicer. So let's go ahead, hit play, and perfect. Great. Now, as you can see, now we basically have the whole motion, and we can kind of get back here and take a look. So let's go ahead. When I hit play, here we go. So no problem whatsoever. Perfect. Great. And nice. Okay. What we can do, maybe if we go through this, guys, come down here. I'm going to actually select this, guys. Maybe we can kind of come here. Let's go to maybe 340 and see, hit play. I think it's nicer, even though we have this kind of problem, but it's not going to be visible at all. It's going to be very quick, and we are going to be adding motion blur. So if I hit play here, boom, perfect, very nice. Now we can go ahead and from the next section basically start adding the letters here, and also start lighting, material, and all the necessary stuff before render, and then we can go ahead, render it, and do the compositing inside After Effects. So see you in the next section. Stay tuned with moregraphplus.com. Okay folks, welcome back to moregraphplus.com. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling in this section by kind of fine-tuning our animation and our motion and see what exactly we have. So let's go ahead and get started. The motion is finishing about frame maybe 400. Let's go ahead to about frame 400, so our timeline is just right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our motion and see what we have here. So I'm going to hit play and see where we need to adjust some of the stuffs. Okay, one of the parts that seriously need adjustment is this part. One of the very basic principles of any successful motion design is never let anything to stay still for one moment. Just try to have motion. Just try, even if you, for example, we need to stay here to look at these small cubes building this main cube, but at the same time, you know, staying this still and just having this kind of motion is really gonna be a very serious problem for someone who knows design. Even for some very basic people who watching your design, you have this very nice motion, very active scene, and suddenly here everything stops. That's not very cool. Now let's go ahead and adjust this problem and add some motion to the whole thing. If you take a look at this master 01, we have this basic change here, and you can see from frame 156 to frame 157 here is absolutely still. And if you take a look at the keyframes here and go to the next keyframe, you can see there is absolutely no change in the rotation or position value. So let's go ahead and see what exactly we're going to be doing. I'm going to get to frame 175, and if you take a look at the direction of the motion, we're coming from this way. Okay, so in order to make it nice, we can go ahead and continue the same motion but with much more slower rate. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay folks, so let's go ahead and see what we have here. So if you take a look at the numbers here, we are changing and you see from 108 on heading, we are going to something like, okay, so let's go ahead and there we go, here's the motion. Let me just zoom in a bit here so we can kind of focus on our here. That's where we want to change from 176 to 175. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just select this and kind of move it this way a bit, not too much really. And if you take a look at this master controller, something like this, and if you take a look at the design right now, let's hit play. You see this kind of forward and backward motion. When we added this, let's go ahead and hit play. There we go. That's the problem here. Now we added some kind of movement, but the problem is we have this kind of forward and backward awkward motion, and we need to solve it. So let's go ahead and open the curve for this rotation heading. So let's go to the F curve and see what's going on at frame between 156 and 172. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit here. So that's the problem. You see here, we are on our rotation heading, and it comes down, and here is the where we want to kind of add that extra motion. And as you can see, we have this problem here. You see this bump. Let's go ahead and solve this. I'm going to kind of select this thing and kind of move it a bit to maybe something like that, and kind of change this handle length a bit to make it a bit shorter. So let's see what we are gonna have this time. So I'm going to hit play. Okay, that's exactly what I want. So if I take a look here, take a look how nicer, how much more live the action is. You see there? It's not staying still, like, even though just that few degrees, I think we changed this 10, 12 degrees, but just that quick and small change adds a lot to your design. Okay, perfect. So let's hit play. Perfect. So it's not gonna stay still, it's moving. You see? There we go. Very nice. Even though it's a small movement, but it's moving, which is perfect. So great. And these kind of small movements prepare the viewer to kind of be prepared that there is another big motion that's gonna come. So let's hit play. Boom. Perfect. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, we still have this problem here. You see, boom, it's staying kind of still, and it's not that quick here. So let's go ahead and select the master controller here, and we're going through, and here is kind of staying still, and that's not very cool. So let's see. Okay. So frame 176. So let's see what we need to change here to add a bit more extra motion. At one, maybe about 201, 202. Maybe something like this. Just to have that bit of extra motion. So hit play. Okay. That's where we have a motion. So I kind of wanted to make this thing about maybe frame 217. And if I hit play this time, okay, that's better. But we still need to change some of these guys. So let's go ahead and get back here and open up this one to frame 217 from 190 to 217. So let's go ahead and open up our F curve and see what's going on exactly. So I have it opened here. There we go. So 190, and if you take a look here at the motion and at the curves, you see here's the problem, kind of. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here. If I take a look at these guys curve, so let's just move it maybe upward a bit, and that's gonna help us hopefully. So let's hit play. Okay, perfect, much more better. So if I hit play again, it's not gonna stay still, and that's exactly what we want. Great. So hit play. Always there is a motion. And perfect. Great, guys. So I seriously advise you that you go through all of your keyframes and do that, and I just wanted to show you how would you do that. And you go through, you change the motions, you make sure there is no still moment in your whole motion design, and I did it for just two parts, and we have this extra and detailed camera motion that really helps. Look at this. From here it's all camera motion. You can see from here just get this very nice camera motion that I added in my previous project. And I know we didn't talk about the camera animation at all. That's because first of all, we have in our previous courses at mographplus.com, we have been talking about camera animation quite extensively. For most of our projects, we have been talking about for a complete section just animating the cameras, and we've been talking so extensively about moving the cameras, animating the cameras, how to manage the multiple camera scenes and all of those data, that I really find it to be kind of really, I didn't think there is any need to going through and talk about the camera animation at all. But for this specific project, I'm gonna just go ahead and talk about the camera animation in the next lesson. Just very brief talk, just to give you a hint if you have no idea where to start your camera motion and animation. And combining the camera motion and this nice motion, we are basically overlaying layers and layers and layers of motion. You know, we have the camera motion, we have this master controller rotation and movement, we have this cube coming and going, we have these small cubes and those fractures that we had, those kind of side fractures that we had, and all of these layers of motion to make a kind of simple design, sort of, to be looking kind of complex, and the viewer thinks, oh my god, that is so great. But really, this is the one of very important principle of motion design, is this layering of motion. You add and add and add motion over motion over motion, and that really make a very complex and nice design finally. So there we go. Here is about the fine-tuning, and I just, as I said, I didn't go through every keyframe, and I didn't fine-tune every keyframe because it would take forever really. But I seriously suggest that you go through and work on your keyframes, on your motion, see where it has problems, where you need to adjust them, and really this is our job, and we need to be very good at it. And you go there, you look at it, even though it's really boring, this part, but you have to do it, and you make sure that your animation is nice and you have some nice motion there. So there we go, and in the next lesson we're going to be taking a look at a camera motion really briefly. I'm just going to give you some ideas on how to kind of work with your camera motion, and then we can go ahead and actually start adding those letters and start adding the materials and preparing our scene for final render. And so see you there. Okay folks, welcome back, and in this lesson I'm going to be talking briefly about setting up the camera. The scene that we have here for lesson 0402 is a much more simplified version of what we had and what we've been working on throughout this course, but I'm just going to be giving you some hints where to start your camera animation. So let's go ahead, and here is the scene, and I'm just going to quickly make sure it's actually we have the right aspect ratio here, and let's go ahead and add a camera, and let's go ahead and go through and look through that camera. And for this motion design, the focal length I used was very wide, something like 15, and using this sort of wide angles really helps to make the motion to look much more dynamic. I'm really a big fan of using wide lenses when the time comes to designing this sort of dynamic motion design, because it really helps you to sell the shot and make the shot to look much more dynamic and much more live. So let me show you where to start. So we have our camera, and the next thing I'm going to do is to actually control the camera with two nulls. I mean, it really depends on your scene and how much detailed control you want to have over your camera. But in this case, I used two nulls: one null to control the position of the camera and one null to control the rotation of the camera. Normally, I might use, for example, three nulls for just rotation, each null for each axis, heading, pitch, and banking, basically, and I be controlling each axis for one specific null. This is one way of doing it if I really wanted to have very extra detailed control over my motion, but in this case I just used two null. So in order to make sure you're having it right, just create two nulls in this case. One of the nulls is going to be for the position, P for position, and the second one is going to be for rotation. So I'm going to make the rotation to be a child of my position null, and make the camera to be a child of my rotation null. So if you take a look at the position and the rotation null are exactly at 0 point, and this way we are really gonna be able to have a very great control over our camera's motion. So if I go just a bit closer to my scene here, there we go, I can go ahead and select my rotation control or rotational control or whatever you want, and as you can see we can have some extra detailed control. Let's go ahead and, for example, change it this way, and you can see because the camera is very wide, it really helps to make the scene to look extremely dynamic and fun. So let's go ahead and add some extra detail, and if you want to control now the position and move your camera, you simply go ahead and select your position null and kind of move your camera, and you can have some much more better control over it. So let's just go ahead and zero out these values. Sorry, there we go, and perfect. And we can actually go ahead and still move our camera if we wanted to have add another layer of motion there. So really that's about moving the camera, and you can go ahead and create some cool stuff. Let's go ahead, for example, control our rotation and position, and let's go ahead and add a keyframe here, and let's go to maybe frame 25, and then I can go ahead to my rotation control here, and I can go ahead and create some nice motion here, maybe something like this. Okay, and let's maybe move our camera a bit farther away, and let's go ahead and select both of these nulls and set another keyframe. And if you take a look, we are having this extremely nice and dynamic motion. You see there? And now, boom, boom, and we can go ahead and, if you want, add some extra motion here. So maybe just a few degrees down here. Set another keyframe, and if you go to something like 50 frame here and hit play, we're gonna get this very nice and detailed motion. You see there? Boom. Now we don't have any motion blur, and it might seem a bit kind of awkward, that quick motion, but if you take a look, boom. So you can see it's very simple to control your animation using this sort of hierarchy. Basically, you don't camera by itself, even though if you want you can, but you control the camera using tunnels, and that way you are gonna be able to control your camera in a much more sufficient way. So this is about the camera motion, and really just using these tunnels and the camera, I added all of those detailed motion, and you can go ahead and do the same thing. But as I said, because it really takes forever if you go through and animate the camera throughout the timeline and throughout the motion that we had. So I'm gonna just stay with it and use the camera motion that I had, and I just wanted to make sure you understand, if you haven't been watching our courses, because we have a few other courses on our website mographplus.com that we talking about the camera motion, as I said, quite extensively. So if you really think you need some extra information about how to move the camera and how to animate the cameras, I highly recommend that you go there and watch those courses. We got these the gift project, the box studio project, and the motion graphic in Cinema 4D and Real Flow. Especially the gift project is where we go through the camera motion. We really go crazy about it. We do a lot of stuff with the camera. We animate multiple camera. We use the morph camera and a lot of other stuff that I think if you really need some information about the camera motion, I seriously recommend that you go there. But for this course, I just think it would be enough, and hopefully you go there and animate your cameras by yourself. And I seriously recommend that you don't use my camera that I will be providing with you, and you have access to all of the lessons that we go through them. And you go and create your own camera, create your own motion, and it will definitely gonna be much more fun for you, and you're gonna have to face some other challenges and solve them and really learn and basically get much more out of this course. So see you in the next lesson, where we basically start to attaching our letters to the different cubes, and basically and after that we can start preparing materials and lighting and final render. So see you there. Okay folks, welcome back to mographplus.com. Let's go ahead and actually attach the letters and create some materials. The first thing I want to do is to create 3 materials. So let's go ahead and create a new material. I'm just going to change this preview to sphere GI, and then I'm going to its color, I'm going to 223. There we go. We'll go to our reflection. I'm going to delete this specular and add a simple backman here. I'm going to my texture, add a simple rennell here, and I'm going to reduce this volume maybe to something like this, and the strength to something like 25 maybe would be enough. Okay, that's what I want. I'm just going to create create 2 duplicates. This is gonna be, the color is gonna be black, and I'm gonna be using something like 50, not quite black there. There we go. And the third one is gonna be this color, 222, 60, and 92, and that's what we want. And I'm going to create 2 sets of this material, and I'm going to show you why 2 sets and what we need to do. So I'm going to select all of these guys and control drag. Okay, now we have 2 sets of these materials, as you can see, and let's just rename them. Maybe add a 2 here, or you can go ahead and name them more appropriately based on the color that you are using, but I'm just going to set this way. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and start applying the adding the letters and applying the materials. I'm going to my mo graph and add a mo text. I'm going to solo out this mo text, and let's get out of the camera basically and see where we are here. Here's our text. I'm gonna go to here. This is gonna be our M, so I'm gonna be typing M. Let's go to our object, type in M, and I'm going to change the font to Typograph Pro or whatever font you like to use. I'm going to just use the Typograph Pro and extra bold, and I'm going to change the alignment to be middle, and let's go to something like 50 maybe, and I'm going to my caps, make sure feel like caps. Okay. Let's go ahead and change the fillet type to 2 steps. And I mean, something like this would be definitely enough, okay? Maybe 5 centimeters is a bit too much, but I think it's gonna be enough. And we can change the step, but doesn't matter that much because we're using this 2-step mode. There, okay, that's our M, and I'm going to maybe to something like 140 would be enough for its height. And now that we have it, let's go ahead and start attaching this guy to our desired cubes. Let's unsolo, and if I get back to my camera and start taking a look, so I'm going to be using just 3 cubes. In the original design, I have had 6 letters distributed on these 5 cubes, 1, 2, 3. Another one on this side of this cube, and another letter and another letter for this final cube. But just to make stuff a bit faster, I'm just going to be using 3 letters, and you can go ahead and add as more letter as much letter as you want. But in this case, we're just going to stay with 3 because actually we're not going to be rendering this project. I have rendered that I've done it before, and it is complete with all the multipass and everything, and we're going to be using that render to doing our compositing inside After Effects, and I'll be providing those renders to you too. But generally speaking, as I said, we're going to be using just 3 letters and just make stuff a bit faster, because as you see, it's going to take some time to actually prepare the scene to be rendered. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So these 3 cubes are our main cubes. Okay, and I'm going to be applying these 3 the materials and attach 1 letter to each one of them. So let's go ahead. This for these guys, we're going to be applying the second set of materials, and I'm going to be walking you through why I do that, because you see what we need to change after we apply the materials. So let me go ahead and select these 3 letters. Select this, just let's go ahead and replace here. It's going to be 15, 12, sorry, 12, hold on, control, and also 9. So these are these 3 materials, the 3 cubes that we want to kind of move them. Perfect. I'm going to right click on this material and hit apply. And as you can see, now we have this material being applied to. Let's go ahead and attach our letter M to our first cube, which is cube number 15 here. Okay, so I'm going to, let's put this thing down here, our attributes manager. I'm going to drag this M under 15. Okay, and then I'm going to select my M, go to its coordinates and zero out X, Y, and Z values, and also all the rotation values. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and drag it. And for this M, we're going to be applying this white material. So let's go ahead and apply the second white material, even though just the black material is important, but just to stay a bit organized, I decided to create another set of material for the letters too. So let me just get out of this camera and get back to here, and kinda I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees on this angle and rotate it 90 degrees this way. And let's go ahead, select our move tool, and see. Okay, let's pull it back a bit, maybe something like this. Okay. Okay, I think it's enough. And if I get back to my camera, you can see now this M is actually, as you can see, coming here. You can see the M down here. And there we go. And okay, here's finally our M. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing for the cube number 12. I'm going to select my M, control and drag it. Okay. And I'm going to put it under cube number 12. And we're going to rename it to G. And let's go ahead to its object, and instead of M, we're going to type G. Okay. And here is our G. And I can kind of zoom in a bit more and see. We can make it a bit bigger, but because of the structure of our M, we need to kind of keep that consistency. If we can increase the G size, it would be kind of not in quite harmony with our M. So that's why, even though the G could be bigger, I'm going to stay with this size. I'm just going to kind of move it a bit. Okay, something like this, it's enough. And this is our G, and we can actually add a 2 suffix here. Okay, 02, and for this G 02, so these are going to be our set 2 that the materials of set 2 has been applied to. And as I said, it might seem a bit confusing, but in a moment we get to that, and we show you why we're using another version, and we naming them this way. So this is this, and let's go ahead, and this is cube number, let me have my notes here, cube number 9, which is this one. Let's go ahead and control and drag, and here is our plus. Okay, so let's go ahead, type plus, and let's go ahead, change the text, just type in plus there, and hit enter, and let's go ahead and move this thing about here. Let's see, I'm just going to make this thing a bit bigger, so let's go ahead and change this height. Let's go to something like 200 and see if it's enough, or we can still make it bigger, maybe 220, 250, something like this. I think it's gonna be enough. It's bigger, but it's a better and nicer typography to have the plus a bit bigger, because it's not a letter, it's a simple sign here. Okay, there we go. And now let's go and rename this to plus version 2. Okay, now if I get back to the camera and walk you through, now if I come down and hit play, that's what we're gonna get. You see the M and G and plus. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure you spotted the problem, and the problem here is because we didn't add that much of those Rubik's Cubes motions, the M, G, and plus kind of stay together for a long time, and they barely separate, and this is really not what we want. We want to distribute these M, G, and plus in different parts so they seem separated, and finally when we get to this final motion, boom, here we want to stay together. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a bit of trick here, and it's going to be really kind of easy. You just have to get your facts right before getting into it. But what we want to do here is to get the M, G, and the plus, and not all of them, because the G has some nice motion, as you see, and I would love to actually have this G exactly here. But for the M and the plus, what we can do is to go ahead and make them the M, the plus, and the black material that has been applied to the cubes that the letters are attached to. We can go ahead and animate them. So from about here, when we actually don't see them, about frame 314, 17, 16 here, we can go ahead and make their material to change from black white to black, the material of the cubes, and also we can make these two letters appear. Okay, and then what we can do, instead of using the cube number 15 for the M and cube number 9 for the plus, we can go ahead and use some other cubes and attach the M and the plus to those other cubes, and we can you know, look at them. They are looking nice, they are separated nicely, and we can make them disappear in our final motion. So we are going to have just the M and G and the plus that has been applied to our cube 9, 12, and 15, and this way we are gonna get a bit nicer. I mean, maybe it just seems a bit confusing, but when I actually do it, you're gonna understand it much more easily. So let's go ahead and solve this problem that we have, and that's the letters are staying together. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the M and the plus are gonna start appearing at about here, frame 3, 16, and 17. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to apply display tag to here, Cinema 4D tag, display tag, and I'm going to enable the visibility. Okay, we don't need to see them before frame 317, and here is where we want to see this, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to frame 316, enable the visibility, and let's zero out this value and set a keyframe, and I'm going to frame 370, change this value to 100, and set another keyframe. Okay, so the M, you can see there is basically no M here. There we go. You can see the M has disappeared, and here we have our M back. And if I go and take a look at it from another angle, you can see basically it frame 307, the M appears. You see that? There we go. It's not there, but here you see, take a look at here, and it appears. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for our plus. So it's gonna be simple copy paste. So let's go ahead and control drag this to our plus, and now as you can see, our plus is not there. Take a look, see, and it appears. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Instead of beside this, another thing we need to do is actually to animate the material. So where they start to appear, we want the material to before that we want the material to be white, and from here we want the material to be black for our final motion. Okay, perfect. And actually this plus, we're going to be adding this red material. So let's go ahead and apply this material. There we go. And let's go ahead and do that for the materials. So it's going to be, again, a very simple. Let's go ahead and 318, the material that has been applied to the M and plus. Okay, we're going to animate that. And there is another thing. You can see the material for the letter G and the cube beside it is the same material that has been applied to the M and plus. Okay, but we actually don't want to do that because the G is going to stay there forever. So let's go ahead and actually create two copy from this white and black material, and let's go ahead and just name them G white and G black. Okay, and let's go ahead, and for the G we're going to be using these materials, and we're going to be animating this set of materials here. So let's go ahead and apply the this material and this material. Now when we actually animate these two materials, this one and this one, we are not going to be animating the material that has been applied to the letter G and its cube, because it's going to be staying there forever, you see, because it has some nice motion and I really don't want to lose that. So let's go ahead and animate this guy. So I'm going to go to frame 316. So let's go ahead 316. And what we want to change is the material that has been applied to the cubes that the M and the plus are attached to. I hope it's not getting confusing, I know, but really this is just you know, just a fraction of what you do on a daily basis when you are trying to create motion design. I mean, I tried to make the whole project to look as simple as possible. The original project, which was much more complex, and it was designed in a way that it could be easily dealt with later on if we wanted to change something, and if they wanted to change something, I mean the client. So it was a really perfect rig, but here I tried to make it as simple as possible, and even though it's still low complex, but really that's our job, so let's go ahead and do that. So what we're going to be doing here, if I get back to the camera, it's to animate the color of these cubes that the M and the plus are attached to. The M and the plus are going to be appearing at about frame 317, and we're going to make sure that the material for the cubes, this cube and this cube that the M and the plus are attached to, are going to be white until frame 316, and in frame 317 it's going to turn black to match with our design. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get back to frame 316 here. I'm going to this material. I'm going to set a keyframe at frame, let's see, 317, because here we want it to be black. I'm going to frame 316, and I'm going to change the color to white. Okay, so there we go. So what's going to happen now, we have basically animated this. If you take a look at our camera, just get out of the camera, see they are black, but if you get back, you see here, these are the two cubes that we are talking about. You see, they are white, and they suddenly become black, and the M and the plus appears. Perfect. Okay, that's very cool and amazing. Let's go ahead and continue our design. And now what we want to do, guys, is to start adding other stuff, because at the moment before frame 317 we only have the G, and we're going to attach one M and one other plus to another two cubes. And the cubes that I think are gonna be best are gonna be cube number 11, which is, let's get out of this camera, the cube number 11 and cube number 16. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this and see what we are going to have. So let's see. If I get back to here and go to the camera, so here's the cube. This one is cube number 16. I'm going to attach the M to it. Okay, and let's go ahead and do that really quickly. I'm going to create a copy of this M, and I'm going to drag it here. I'm going to delete this display tag for the moment, and this is going to be our cube M01, because we have it first, and then we have our M02, and the material that's going to be applied is going to be different, and this is it. Let's go ahead and zero out its coordinates just quickly, and there we go. I'm going to drag it up. Perfect. Get out of the camera, and as you can see, our camera's motion here is this way. I kind of want it to be, let's see, rotate it negative 90 degrees, and I'm going to pull it up. So there we go. Move it there. And let's see. So perfect. Now let's go ahead and apply the material from our first set, which is this white material, and we're going to apply material, the black material, to our this cube, which is cube number 16, our first set. Because we have animated this material, and this material is for only G. And we're going to be have to animate this material to later down the timeline, but for the moment, if I go to the camera, you can see this is what we have. Okay, nice. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the plus, and the cube that is going to be perfect is going to be cube number 11 here. So if I get out of the camera, let's see if you can see it. Okay, this is the cube number 11 here. So let's go ahead. Perfect. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and add the plus to number 11. Let's go ahead and control drag, and this is gonna be our plus version 1. And let's go ahead and apply the appropriate material from the first set just to stay organized. And the 11 is gonna have the black material from this first set too. Perfect. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to the plus 0, 1. I'm going just to zero out its coordinates on X, Y, and Z, and also the rotational values. And I'm gonna just move it down there. Let's see where it is. Let me actually go ahead and delete this display tag on it. There we go, so we can see it. Remove the camera, let me get back. And there we go. So, you know, even it would be nice not just to have something in here, you know, nothing attached. Look at that, it's gonna be very actually nice. Boom. See, that's an idea if you want to pursue it, and yeah, it would be actually very, very cool. Look at that. Boom. But we're gonna stay to our design here. So let's go ahead and just going to get out of my camera, and let's see, that's the plus here. So let me zoom in there. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And actually, let me just save this project here. Rotate it 90 degrees. And let's see. That wasn't 90, that was 100. Let me change it to 90 degrees. And okay, I think that's gonna be enough. Let's go ahead to our camera, and now we have this M and the plus and the G separated. See, M, we got the G, we got the M here. Okay, and here we got the MG plus. Now what we want to do, even though they're actually going to disappear by themselves, but see here we got this block here. And another thing that I'm actually going to do is to create a general material and add that white material to all of these guys. So let's go ahead and actually just duplicate maybe this guys that hasn't been animated yet, and I'm going to come up here and rename it to the main material, main white material, and we're going to be applying this guy to everything. So let's go ahead and apply to our master null number 1. Perfect. And if I go ahead and render it, okay, let's see, these guys obviously have some material applied to them. So let's go ahead and see what is the problem. Material number 18, this fracture have this deleted material. Let's go ahead and delete that. And also this guy, let me open it up, and also let's go ahead and delete all the deleted material here. There we go. And if I go ahead and render, there we go. Perfect. Now we haven't done anything, so it looks ugly definitely, but we're gonna make it much nicer. So let's see. Now what we want to do is to make the plus, the M, and their material to kind of disappear. We're going to disappear the M and the plus at about maybe here at about frame 320, and at the same time we're going to make their cubes that are attached to become or to turn white at the exact same frame. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So here's the M. Let's go there. The plus is the one that is, you know, lasts a bit longer. So let's go ahead and actually work on that first of all. So we need to have it there at about frame 321. We don't need it anymore. So let's go ahead and go to our cube number 11 here. and cube number, sorry, 11. There we go. And let's go ahead and apply a display tag to this guy. Cinema 4D tag, display tag, enable the visibility, set a keyframe, go 1 frame forward, 0 it out, and there we go. I'm going to apply this to our also M01, which is applied to cube number 16. So let's go ahead and control and drag it. And now what's going to happen is they're going to be, if I take a look at this view, as you can see, they're going to disappear at frame 300, and there we go. You see that? Our plus has disappeared. Perfect. That's what we want. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the material that has been applied to, and it's going to be the this material, which is this one, and the material to the cube number 11. We're going to be turning it to white. So let's go ahead and do that. We don't need to change this, just this black material need to turn white. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to frame 300, and there we go, about 320. So let's go ahead and 321, 320. Let's get set a keyframe, go 1 frame forward, and turn it to the same white that we had, 223, 223, and 223. Apply that, and if I get out of here, you see they turn white and they disappear. And if I get back to my main camera and take a look, it's gonna be perfect. So let me go ahead and save this project, gets back, and hits play. There we go, perfect. Just select everything, hit play, see M, G, we got this plus, and there we go. Very, very cool and nice. And if I hit play again, so that's cool. That is cool, and perfect, very nice, and there we go, exactly what we want, and it's very nice. I know it's kind of confusing, but just rewind and watch it again to understand why we did what we did. Just stay tuned with mographplus.com. See you there. Okay folks, let's go ahead and focus on our lighting. Now, lighting for such motion design isn't that, I want to say isn't that hard, but the fact is you don't want, or basically you can't get very specific about your lighting, and because everything is moving. So, and we know how important the reflections and the way you put your light is to your reflection, but because everything is moving, including the camera, the objects, and the motion are very dramatic, so it's really hard to get very exact lighting. So that's why we're going to be going to a very kind of and constant overall lighting without having to kind of make it dramatic or work on it that much, because it's not gonna work. There are so many motion that's gonna make the specific lighting to kind of be impossible. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go to my render setting first of all, and let's go ahead and enable the global illumination, and we're going to irradiance cache or light mapping. Actually, you can use the quasi Monte Carlo if you wanna, because we're rendering animation, and if you want to get rid of any flicker, and actually that's the way that I rendered it in my original design. So let's go ahead and stay with this for the moment. I'm gonna just go ahead and reduce the parameters just a bit, so we kind of go a bit faster about everything, and the sample's also low. I'm going to my anti-aliasing. I'm going to make it best, and 1x1, 4x4, it's going to be enough. And also I'm going to add the ambient occlusion really quickly, and just let's go ahead and increase the quality to something like 20/100, maybe something like 10 is enough, and the accuracy 50%. Perfect. So let's go ahead and start adding the lights. I'm going to get out of my camera and get back to I'm gonna go default here. So let's go ahead and start adding some nice lights. So let's see. Just to make stuff simpler, I'm gonna close this guys and close the cameras for the moment. Actually, let's have it opened. So I'm gonna start by adding a target light to my scene and move it up, and then I'm going to change the light to be an area light, and also make sure we got some area shadow going on. And also I'm going to my detail tab and make this something like maybe 800 centimeter and 800 centimeter, and it's not enough, so let's go ahead and make it bigger. It's kind of an overhead light, so maybe something like this. So this is our first light, and I wanted to add some sort of texture to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to my layers, and I'm going to create a new layers for my material, and this is going to be our main materials. And let's go ahead and basically make this materials here and go to our no layer, and I'm going to create a quick material for my texture. So let's go ahead, I'm going to maybe use a gradient, or we can go ahead and actually use a surface. I'm going to use a surface, and I'm going to use tiles, and let's go ahead and change these values here, and maybe something like this isn't actually that bad. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and increase the global scale to something like 200. Okay, that's isn't too bad, and perfect. Let's go ahead and just create a plane here. I'm going to make this plane to be child of my light. I'm going to my attributes manager, coordinate, and zero out all the position and rotation values. Let's go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees. And what I'm going to do is to go to my lights, go to my detail tab, and make the size X to be a driver, and this will drive the size, the width of my plane. So set this as driven, and go to the detail, set this as the driver, and go to the plane and set this as the driven. Okay, there we go. Even though we get to espresso tag, and it's going to be a bit messy, and we can do all of that in one simple espresso tag, but let's go ahead and stay with the driver and driven here. So there we go, and I'm going to put the plane kind of behind my lights. Something like this would be nice. And let's go ahead and apply this texture. So that's what we have at the moment, and I can get to my camera. Let's go through and see what we have at the moment. Let's go ahead and render it. Perfect. Now, as you can see, we have these nice reflections, which is nice. Perfect. Okay, great. Let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to hit Alt and G. This is going to be our first light. Let's go ahead and duplicate this, and this is going to be our second light. I'm going to get out of the camera. This is our first light. Let's go ahead, select the light here, and let's see. Let's move this thing maybe here, put it here, and let's go to maybe this angle here, and I'm going to make it sorta this way. Okay, and let's see what's gonna happen with this. So let's just go to our camera. I'm going to hide this light and see just what is going to what are we gonna have with just this light. So let's go ahead and move. So here's maybe a good angle. Let's go ahead and take a look. So as you can see, we get this kind of nice reflections, which is, I think it's going to be nice. But for this one, I'm going to create a second material, and just going to change this tile to some sort of gradient. Go to the gradient, and let's change this to none, and let's see, pull this thing to about 50% here, and we can go ahead and double the nuts a few times. Maybe something like this would actually be nice. So let's go ahead and apply this to our second light. Okay, and see what we're gonna get this time. Okay, it's not the way that actually I did the lighting for my original project, but I think it can look nice. So let's go ahead and stay with this. And if I turn on the other light that we have, and let's go ahead to another view, maybe here, when we have both of the lights. Let's wait for the render. It's gonna take some time. We're gonna go through and add more lights definitely to make sure, but I think this kind of reflection is nicer. The original version, I just went ahead to a very simple lights, which is some box gradient type, you know, but it's really up to you. I think this is gonna be looking nicer. So let's go ahead and add some other lights. I'm going to duplicate this first light, control drag, and this is going to be our third light. I'm going to select the light and put it down here. Okay, maybe let's just make it a bit angled. Let's maybe here, and see, let's just make it a bit bigger. And I'm going to create this time is going to be a simple gradient. So let's go ahead and create a simple box gradient, invert the nuts, and maybe something like this. Let's go ahead and apply this to this guy here, and let's okay, let's go ahead and see what we are gonna get from this light. Get back to my camera view and see. Okay, maybe here, let's go ahead and render it. Okay, we are getting closer and closer, and we can go ahead, in order to speed up our render, we can go ahead and actually disable the area shadow for some of our lights. But as I said, I don't want to have any dramatic effect, so I want the shadow to be as soft and as unbiased as possible. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, this is another light. Great. Let's get out of the camera and see what we have here. Okay, this is generally speaking not too bad. I'm going to select the light and actually control drag to create another copy. Let's go ahead and select the light and maybe move it somehow. Let's see where we are. Something like this. Okay. And also, I think we can create a duplicate for this light to be on the other side. So let's go ahead and change this to 5. Select this light and let's move it to this side, and let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, and the first light, I'm going to definitely make it a bit bigger, so let's go ahead and kind of make it bigger. Perfect. Let's get back to our camera, and all of these lights are going to be invisible. So actually, let's go ahead and apply let's just select all of these guys and hit Alt and G, and that's gonna be our lighting. And let's go ahead, add a cinema 4D, and this light target one definitely need to be here. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and add a compositing tag here and make sure it's not going to be seen by the camera. So let's go ahead and render this thing and see what we get. Okay folks, so this is the result that we have here, which is not too bad. Just to visualize things a bit better, I'm going to add a background, even though we're going to be adding the background inside After Effects, but I'm just going to add a background here, and just let's create a new material for our background. Into the color, let's add a gradient here, and I'm going to use this not box, just this circular one, and this color, and the second color maybe just a bit darker. I'm going to actually invert them, and let's go ahead and apply this to our background, and let's see what we get. Okay, as you can see, adding that background color really make things come to life. And if I get back to maybe this frame, let's go ahead and before the render, I think some of these guys are so over bright. For example, this guy here. So let's go ahead and make the light intensity maybe something like 75 here, and also this guy too. So let's go ahead and select it and go to something like 75. I'm going to my camera, and let's go ahead and see what we're going to get this time. Okay, so definitely not too bad. And if we wanted to kind of fill some of the parts, we can go ahead and add a sky, for example. Let's go ahead and do that, just a simple sky. And let's go ahead and add a simple material here. Let's go to this luminance material, and just this white color, even though it's a bit too, let's go ahead and go to something like this, and let's go ahead and apply to our sky and see what's going to happen. And this is definitely going to add a compositing tag and make sure it's not going to be visible to our camera. Also, let's go to our lighting and kind of hide it from our viewport, and let's go ahead and render it again and see what we're going to get. So as you can see, it kinda helps, but okay. And we can really render our whole scene with just this simple sky if I wanted to. Okay folks, so what I want to do is to first of all come here and make this bevel with something like maybe 3%, so something like this. And also I'm going to make my overhead light a bit bigger, so let's go ahead and select our first light. So I'm going to still make it bigger, maybe something like this, and we can add some fall off to our lights if we wanted to, but as I said, in this case it really doesn't matter that much. So let's go ahead and render it again and see what we're going to get this time. And I'm going to actually disable the sky anyways. It was just an option if you wanted to. So I think I'm loving this much more better. And okay, definitely better. And great, very nice looking. Let's go ahead to different frames and see. Maybe here, let's see what we're gonna get. I think this material kind of needs some adjustments because I don't know. Let's go ahead and see what our renders are looking like. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Let's go ahead and get out of our camera just for a moment. And for this one, I'm going to actually, let's see, select the light here, which one is number 2. And let's go ahead and actually select the light, and let's go ahead and make it something like this. Okay, so we have a nice reflection here, and let's get back to our camera and see what we're gonna get this time. So you get this reflection here, even though we can kind of make this whole thing to be a bit bigger. So let's get out of the camera. So you can just tweak stuff and see which one do you like better. Let's go ahead and make this thing a bit bigger, something like this maybe. So we have this big card. Let's go ahead and see what's gonna happen here. Okay, so you get these nice reflections all over, which I think is gonna help. As I said, we're not gonna be rendering this project. I have the renders already prepared, and we're gonna be using those renders in our compositing inside After Effects. But if you wanna, you can experience with different settings. This is not the way I did my lighting in my original project at all. I just used some simple box area light type box textures in my for the textures, but here I use some different texture, and I think it's really worth it. It's very nice, and we can use this, and I like the lighting. What we can do, maybe just get these colors to be not that dark. So I'm going to just quickly go ahead and we can reset this thing, and let's go ahead and add a white color, add a black color. The black, I'm going to make it to be something like that, not so dark. Okay, so let's go something like this, and let's make sure position of this guys is 50%, and let's go ahead and double them a few times. Okay, nice. Maybe there we go, something like this. Let's get back to our render and see what we're gonna get this time. I mean, there is no specific rule about lighting such a scene when everything is moving, because the lighting might look like this in one frame, but if you go to frame 139, for example, the whole thing has moved, the camera has moved, the object has moved, and you are going to have a totally different lighting situation. So that's why it's really isn't that restrictive that when we rendering up, for example, a simple still shot. Here is everything is moving, and the lighting is much more it's going to be challenging if you really wanted to get a very specific result for each frame. So I think this is nice, generally speaking. Let's go ahead, go to maybe this frame and see what we're going to get basically. Let's go ahead and render it out. Just as you do your lighting, just go ahead and check out different frames and see how they look, and if they need any sort of adjustments or not. I think we are actually very, very good, and adding the ambient occlusion really helps to sell the shot and add more depth into our scene and into our project. Okay, I am actually loving it. That's cool. Let's go ahead, see what's going on here. Sorry. Let's go ahead and close our picture viewer here and render it in our viewport. Okay guys, I think it's enough. Let's go ahead, let's maybe go to this scene and see what we're gonna get. I think we have a nice shot, generally speaking. Maybe we need to add another light from this angle, but I think we have some nice reflection going on all over the place. Okay, it's definitely not too bad, and remember we have the post production process to make stuff look much more nicer. So let's see. So if I get out of my camera here, you see we might need a light maybe from this angle. Not sure. Maybe we can make this guy to come. Sorry, let's go ahead and select the light here. Maybe come about here and kind of make it a bit bigger. Okay. And hopefully if we get back to our camera, we should be having a better time. Let's go ahead and render it. It's not going to be that dark, hopefully this time. Okay. Let's go ahead and wait. And so the lighting is basically finished. What we need to do in the next lesson is to kind of prepare our scene for final render, add the appropriate compositing and object buffers, and we're going to be adding the depth of field, also prepare some objects to be used inside After Effects if you wanted to add some 3D effect inside After Effects. And yeah, we're going to be done in a few lessons, hopefully. So I think the lighting is not too bad at all, and we have a very good lighting overall, and we still can go ahead and improve it in our and this is our final shot. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one too. Go ahead and improve it inside After Effects. Let's see what this shot is gonna look like. Let me just get back a bit. There we go. Let's go ahead and render this. So I'm going to leave it like this, but if you want to get a bit more even looking reflection, you can go ahead and basically change this to be some other type. You can go ahead and basically just get rid of these stripes and have some simple gradients instead of these stripes. If you want, you can simply do that, but I'm going to leave it like this. And if we need, we can go ahead and add and change and adjust those two. But basically this is the process of lighting, and it really depends on what you want to do and how you want your lighting to be. You can go ahead and use different texture, or you can go ahead and just use one texture and basically use that all over the place. And this is the thing that I actually did. I just used this simple let me go ahead, this simple box gradient texture for all of my lights in my original project, because you know, it really is up to you. I wanted that really even reflection all over the place, so that's why I didn't use this sort of sprites and this window reflection and stuff like that. But if you want, you can go ahead and do that, and it's absolutely up to you. So in the next lesson, we're going to be preparing our scene for final render. So stay tuned with mographplus.com. Okay folks, let's go ahead and start working and preparing our scene to our final render. Before actually going through anything, I'm going to actually change this texture. I'm going to replace this texture with just this simple texture, not this one actually. Let's come down here, just this texture. Let's go ahead and do that, or I'm not sure. Let's go ahead. I know it's a bit more lighting, but I finally I didn't like it the way it was. Those stripes wasn't that nice in the reflection, and I think let's go ahead and see what we're gonna get. I think this one is gonna be a bit nicer. Now what we're gonna be doing in this lesson is to basically prepare the scene for final render. We're gonna be doing a complete multipass rendering. That means we're gonna be taking all the passes and combine them back inside After Effects, and this way we're gonna have a very nice control over everything. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, nice. Okay, that's, I think it's a bit better for this project. Let's go ahead and start the multipass rendering. I'm going to my render setting, and I'm going to add a few passes. I'm going to add diffuse, I'm going to add reflection, I'm going to add ambient occlusion, I'm going to add global illumination. Let's see, what else do we need? We're going to be setting up depth of field, so let's go ahead and actually add depth 2, and I think this is going to be enough. Also shadow, so let's so diffuse, reflection, ambient occlusion, global illumination, shadow. I think these are going to be enough. Perfect. let's go ahead and just disable the save, so make sure we have the multipass rendering as it should be. Let's go ahead and just render it and see how it's gonna work out. Let's go to our output and rendering the current frame. Let's go ahead and render it and see what we're gonna do. And I'm also going to hide my lighting from my viewport. Okay, there we go. As you can see, the render is finished. Let's go to our layer and enable the single layer. Here is our reflection. Here is our ambient occlusion. Here is our global illumination, our shadows, and we got the diffuse, and finally the depths. The camera has some depth data, which is great. We're going to be taking a look at that too. And if I get back to my image, and let's go ahead and enable the multipass rendering. And you can see when we enable the multipass rendering, we basically, what we're doing is basically we're telling Cinema 4D that please basically make the pixels based on the layers that you have in your multipass rendering data. So we're not using this image here, and we're just combining different passes, the diffuse, the shadow. And if you take a look here, for example, the diffuse is its blending mode is set to normal, the shadow is multiply, the global illumination is add, the ambient occlusion is multiply, and the reflection is add to. I'm going to be doing the same thing inside After Effects to basically combining them, and we're getting hopefully we're going to be getting this exact same result. Okay, so I can get back and take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at the depth of field that we have. If I take a look at the camera, you can see if you take a look here, the camera is in order to have depth of field, because we have copied this camera from the original project, so it has some data. If you select the camera and go to your detail tab, you can see we have the depth of field map rear blur turned on. And if you take a look, you can see the focus point of this camera is about here. And if we go through, you can see even though the camera is moving, but because we always have something close to camera, and this way the focus point will basically remain here, and we're going to be all of the close parts to camera are going to stay in focus all the time. And as we basically get away from the camera, they're going to be becoming more and more blurry. So that's it. So 0 for start, and which is this value, we haven't changed it, and 768 for our end here. You see, that's where the depth of field basically finished, and we have the here at this point the depth of field is at its most powerful basically stage, and basically everything that is here is going to be completely blurred unless we tell otherwise inside After Effects based on the data that we calculate from our depth of field map. Okay, so that's cool. Let's get back to maybe a bit more interesting. Let's see. Okay, maybe here isn't too bad. Let's go ahead and add some object buffer so we have a bit more control over our render in After Effects. First of all, I'm going to add a one object buffer to the whole thing, even though we are going to be rendering alpha and it's not going to be that important. But let's go ahead and add a Cinema 4D tag and add a compositing tag. Cinema 4D tag and add a compositing tag. Now let's go ahead and enable the object buffer number 1. Okay. And now let's go ahead and see what we want to do. These cubes, these black cubes, let's go ahead and maybe let's go ahead and select them. It's really, you need to think about what you want inside After Effects, and based on that you can go ahead and add different object buffers to create different mats. So I'm going to maybe select this guys and okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to have this guys also selected, this M and this G. So there we go, not this plus here. And because they're kind of we're using these cubes are parent to this letters, so basically when we select them, we select their children also. So there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and right click Cinema 4D tag, add another compositing tag here, and this could be, for example, object buffer 2. Okay, and we are going to enable object buffer 1, so they're going to be included in object buffer 1. Otherwise they're going to be excluded, and the object buffer 1 is going to be without them. So let's go ahead and enable object buffer 1 too. And I'm going to add another object buffer to this plus button here, and also the plus button. And we're going to do the same thing for, because basically we have 2m and 2 plus, as you remember. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and add another compositing tag, and this is going to be object buffer 3, for example. And let's see, let's go ahead and let me get my notes here and make sure we're applying the materials to the right. There we go. Here's the notes for this lesson. There we go. And materials 16 and 11. So if I go to the cube number 16, we're going to, even though we're really not going to be using the object buffer that much, but I'm just going to add, let's go ahead, material 16, material 11. Let's go ahead and add another compositing tag to these guys, and make sure object buffer 1 and object buffer 2, and the plus is going to be here, plus number 1. So let's go ahead and make sure it is also gonna be in object buffer 3, and there we go. I think that's enough. We can go ahead and add an object buffer for all the other cubes that we have, but I don't think it's really that necessary. Okay, we can now go ahead and combine some of those maths inside After Effects if we want, but you know, if we want to, we can actually go ahead and simply do it. So let's go ahead and select all of this cube, right click, Cinema 4D tag, and add a compositing tag here. This is going to be our object buffer 4, for example. So let's go ahead and enable 1 and 4 for them, and also this guy, Cinema 4D tag, compositing tag, and object buffer 4. And let's go ahead and control drag it to this one, to this one, and basically all the cubes that have no material in here, and we have specified the materials for them up there. So let's go ahead and control drag it here, and this one too. Let's go ahead and render it again and see what we're going to get this time. So let's go ahead and render them one more time. Okay folks, so the render is finished, and if I get back to my layers, oh, you know what we forgot? We actually forgot to go to our multipath and add the object buffer. So let's go ahead and object buffer 1. Let's go ahead and add object buffer 2, 3, and 4. And let's go ahead. This is going to be 1. This is going to be 2. This is going to be 3, and this is going to be 4. Let's go ahead and render them again. Okay folks, so the render is finished, and as you can see, we got different object buffers. We have the depth here, we got the object buffer number 1, we got the object buffer number 2, we got the object buffer number 3, we got the object buffer number 4. Okay, object buffer number 1 is supposed to actually include everything. So let's see what we've done it. Let's take a look. For example, this cube wasn't visible in it. Let's just make sure. Oh, you see we have forgot to kind of enable the object buffer here. Let's go ahead and make sure. Go ahead and enable object buffer 1 for them. Just see, these guys also don't have the appropriate object buffer. So let's go ahead and apply the object buffer 1, and okay, just make sure this guy perfect. let's go ahead and this one. Okay, let's go ahead and render it again and see if this time is gonna work. You just have to make sure your object buffers are actually working fine. We might or might not use them. It really depends on the situation and what you want from your post-production. But it's always good to have some sort of mats so you can create some cool stuff inside After Effects. But let's wait for this. Okay, now the object buffer 1 is working fine. Got the object buffer 2, object buffer 3, object buffer 4. We still have some problem. The object buffer 2 is supposed to be just these 3 guys, but we have some extra. Yeah, the object buffer 2, if you remember, we've actually added 2 because we have basically 2 parts. When we had the first cube set of cube and they disappear, and this final 3 cubes will appear, so that's why we actually see 2 versions of them. And if I take a look, let's see what cube is this cube. It's cube number 6, and if you take a look, it has 1 and 4, but let's see. Oh, it has some compositing data on it, that's why it's kind of caused the problem. Let's go ahead and delete these guys completely, and also for this guy, let's see what's gonna happen. There we go. So this guy have these compositing tags that we really don't need them. Let's go ahead and delete them and render it one more time, and hopefully this time it's gonna work just fine. Okay folks, so as you can see, this time is working just fine. We got object buffer 1, object buffer 2, object buffer 3, and object buffer 4. Perfect. And now what we really need to do is, what I want to do basically is to get some 3D data into After Effects. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to add a few simple lights, really nothing too special. Let's go ahead and let me go ahead and create, go to my light. I'm going to add a light here, and I'm going to basically hide this light, or just turn off its visibility completely. So you can go ahead and turn off its diffuse, specular, or GI illumination, and it's just going to be a dummy light that we're going to be using inside After Effects. So let's go ahead and move it maybe about here. Let's control drag and create a copy. Maybe we can go ahead and create a copy, and this way we're going to have some nice data. Let's go ahead and actually control drag these guys, and let's do this. I'm going to just, there we go, and let's just go ahead and select these guys, and also, and maybe let's go ahead and get them about to maybe about here, and also let's go ahead and select these lights. Okay, and let's go ahead and it's going to be our light for export basically. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of these guys and go to my naming tools, and I'm going to add this suffix to them for export, so we can simply use them inside After Effects. There we go. And now when we actually, let's actually go and put them into a null, so the scene will stay organized and nice and neat. And let's type lights for export. Perfect. And we basically don't need this background, so we can go ahead and delete this. And there we go. Here is our scene, nice and neat. Go ahead and hide them here for the moment. Get back to our camera. As I said, and I'm going to say it again, we are not going to be rendering this and using this particular project to our final compositing. I have the renders prepared from my main project. I'm going to be using that render and that files into After Effects and do the compositing. But let's go ahead and prepare our scene to final render. I'm going to my outputs and the whole frame range, so all the frames, 0 to 600. Okay, let's go ahead and enable save. And now here you can define which format you want to use for your render. I'm going to use Photoshop PSD, and the depth map I usually use is 16 bits per channel. You can go to 32 bit if you want to, but that's going to be enough. I'm going to enable the alpha channel. I'm going to also enable the straight alpha. You define where you want to save your file here and give it a name, and here you define where you want your multipass images to be saved. I'm going to disable this multi-layer file, and I'm going to come down here and enable the compositing project file. I'm going to hit save, choose After Effects, and make sure you have include 3D data, and you are good to go. We can go ahead and enable our filter and change it from a cubic to be a Gauss animation, and this way we will get rid of any possible flickering in our animation. So that's it. And I can go to my global illumination. Maybe we can go ahead and add our diffuse depths, add some more samples, which is up to you, but I think for this project we really don't need to go crazy about our global illumination. It will add to the render time, and it's really not going to be that visible, so I'm going to stay with that. And the ambient occlusion is perfect. The minimum sample are 20, the maximum samples are 200, and the accuracy is 50%. We can go ahead and actually decrease this accuracy to get a quicker render. But that's it, and we are basically ready to render. We can go ahead and start the rendering, and after the render is finished you can come back, but I'm going to be providing the raw render data that I have, so you don't have to actually go ahead and render it, and you can use those data from your project file folder, and you can go there and use those files inside After Effects. So we are basically done with Cinema 4D, and we're going to be basically working on our compositing in the next section inside After Effects. So see you inside After Effects in the next section. Okay folks, before actually getting into After Effects, there is one very important path that I want to make sure you are going to be able to use it, and it's called the motion vector path. Especially for this project that we have these very severe motions and also these small cubes and all of this motion, a path like motion vector is going to be extremely essential when we go inside After Effects, and this way we're going to have very accurate motion blurs using the motion vector path that we exported out of Cinema 4D to After Effects. I mean, we can simply go ahead and render motion blur out of Cinema 4D, and just our render would be with motion blur, and we're not going to change it inside After Effects, but it's going to add to our render time, and in After Effects we can get very close to very accurate motion blurs if we export the motion vector data. So if you go to your multipass and right click here, you get this path called motion vector. You see, not a lot of really details, but if you go ahead and actually just make sure, if we go ahead and render it, I'm gonna just go ahead and quickly make the output to something like 500, just so we have a quick render here. Just make sure the output is set to current frame, and let's go ahead and render it out. So if you go to your layers and single layers, you see you got this layer called motion vector, and as you can see the color varies based on the movement that the object has. If you take a look, let's see. You can see how the color varies. Some parts are kind of green, some parts are kind of yellow, and as you can see, these small cubes that are kind of moving a bit faster, you can see are a bit more greenish, and this really helps us to have much more accurate motion blur. So make sure you actually export this motion blur data out of Cinema 4D. Now let's go ahead and actually close Cinema 4D here. Here we are inside After Effects, and let's go ahead and import those renders. Let me double click. in your project folder, you should have this data provided to you, obviously not in PSD because it's going to be very, very huge. You can see a lot of these guys, but I'm going to provide different passes for you basically on MP4. So you can go ahead and import those data. It's not going to be that accurate, and you need to, if you really want to go to be very accurate, you can go ahead and render your own file. But if you want, just go ahead and use this data. You're gonna have this file. Just go to your render folder or multipass folder in your project file, and you're gonna see these files. And here is the .aec file that we're gonna be using, and as you can see, here it is. And if you open this thing, you're gonna have every pass and every light and every camera basically that we have inside Cinema 4D will be imported to After Effects. So let's go ahead and double click on this and wait a bit. Okay folks, now when you do that, you can see you have this folder which contains your passes, your special passes, the object buffer, the motion vector, the depth pass, and also the main render. And also you got these reflection, shadows, ambient occlusion, and diffuse, and you got this composition also, which basically it couldn't be easier than this. If you just double click on it, you can see you are getting your renders, and everything is just ready to go. Okay, you see there. Let me just go ahead. You might have some problem. Let me go ahead and select all of the layers here and get them back. Okay, let's hold on Shift. Let's hold on Shift. I'm going to hit N and trim the cam to the work area. And here is what we have, guys. As you can see, basically this is a multi-pass render. Basically we have our diffuse, our shadow, and if you take a look, we can go ahead and actually do that if we want. So let me just actually go ahead and do this for you. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these guys so we have a nothing, and we're going to combine our passes manually. So I'm going to my passes. The first pass you need to add is obviously the diffuse. So let's go ahead and add the diffuse. And the next thing we're going to be add is the shadow, and it's going to be multiplied because we need the dark pixel basically. Okay. The next thing we're gonna need is let's go to global illumination. So let's go ahead and add this. And the next thing is obviously our ambient occlusion or reflection, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and add the reflection and make it to be added. And finally our AO or ambient occlusion, which is going to be multiplied. There we go. We can go ahead and change the reflection and ambient occlusion if you wanted to. Okay, there we go. So here's the render, and it's not similar to what we had inside Cinema 4D at all. So in order to solve this problem, if you go to your project setting, you basically need to linearize your workspace inside After Effects. So let's go to our project setting, and down here the depth, let's go to change it to 16, and the working space I'm going to change it to sRGB, and also I'm going to linearize my workspace and hit OK. And as you can see now, it's very much more similar. Now let's go ahead and create a quick background. I'm going to create a new solid here, and that's going to be our background. Turn off caps lock if you have it turned on. So let's see. And as you can see, we got all of the nulls, all of the lights. I don't think I'm going to be using these nulls, and we didn't export them in our original, in our design that we did together. So there we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a quick gradient ramp. So let's go ahead and apply this, and let's see, we're going to radial, hold on Shift, and the second one, let's go to something like this, and the color that we're going to be using, let's see, get this here. Let's go ahead and use maybe this color, and also let's go ahead and use this color, maybe just a bit brighter. So something like this. It doesn't have to be really accurate, but as you can see, it's not too bad at all. And let's go ahead and start working and adding different effects. The first thing I'm going to add is actually depth of field. So let's go ahead and find my depth map, which is this guy. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to rename it to the depth map. Okay, and then I'm going to pre-compose it, and I'm going to name it the just depth map, really, depth map comp. Great. And let's go ahead and create a new adjustment layer. So layer, new adjustment layer, and let's pull it up, and this is gonna be our depth of field. Let's go ahead and add the depth of field effect from Frischluft. Depth of field. Okay, you can go ahead and use the camera lens blur effect, which is a native plugin inside After Effects, but I'm going to use this commercial plugin, a very powerful plugin actually. So let's go ahead and apply this. Turn off the caps lock. Let's go ahead and define our depth layer, which is the depth map comp. And let's go ahead and increase the blur to something like 8. And let's define where we want the depth to actually be. So I'm going to click on the select depth, and somewhere about here is going to be a good space, good place. And as you can see, we got this sort of jaggedness that's going on around, and that's a huge problem with all the depth of field map, and there are different solutions, but let me just show you a very simple one. I'm going to select my depth map here, and what I'm going to do is to apply a very quick fast blur. So let's go ahead and apply a fast blur, and let's go ahead and increase this value to something like 35. So it's getting very blurry, but if I turn on this repeat edge pixels, and if I get back to my original project, you can see we are going to have a much more nicer and much more realistic depth of field effect going on throughout our data. And the next thing is the motion blur. Let's go ahead and create a new adjustment layer. So layer, new adjustment layer. Let's go ahead and put it maybe here. Let's go ahead and name it our motion blur. And we also, you remember the motion vector that we talked about at the beginning of this lesson? So let's go ahead and use it. So let's go, this is our motion vector path. So let's go ahead and use it. I'm going to type in motion map, and I'm going to pre-compose it also, motion map comp. Perfect. Now let's go ahead to our motion blur. I'm going to use another plugin which is Real Smart Motion Blur Pro from Revision. So let's go ahead and use it. So this is what we have at the moment. Let's get closer. I'm going to in the alternative motion source, I'm going to use my motion map blur, and let's see, about 0.5 actually is enough. Let's see where some of the parts. Okay, we got this nice motion blur. Okay, lovely. And let's see, gonna get a bit, have this, so you see here is we have this peak rotation, and we have a nice motion blur basically. Okay, very cool. Now let's go ahead and add some particle to our environment. I'm going to create a new solid, and let's I know I used a lot of plugins that are commercial, but unfortunately particular, and here's the trap code particular, and I'm going to change my emitter to box, and let's emitter size go to something like 5,000 maybe, and the particle per second I'm going to have about 5,000. Perfect. And also I'm going to my emission extras, and I'm going to increase my pre-run, so the particles already be there at the frame 0. And then let's go ahead to the particles here, and the size something like 1.5. Okay, and the size random maybe something like 1. The opacity random, let's go something like 50. And okay, nice stuff. And there we go, we got these nice particles around, and also the particles are kind of reacting to our depth of field maps, which is very, very cool, because you can see these particles are in focus, and as we you know, as they get away from the camera, they become more out of focus and more blurred. And that's about the particles. And finally, I'm going to use these lights. You remember those lights that we created for export? Now we have about 4 of them, and when you export, you basically import your AEC file and you open the composition. You can see you got all of these lights, and we can actually go ahead and use them. So I'm going to create a new solid and apply a bit of optical flares. So let's go ahead and tap in flare, and I'm going to, let's go ahead and pull it up, and let's search for the optical flare from Video Copilot. So let's go ahead and open it up, and we're going to change the source type to be a track light, and we're going to go to the options, and okay, let's go to our motion graphics and find something nice. You know, it's really up to you, and I'm just going to be as quick as possible. Let's go maybe select these bad boys here, and you can see so much at the moment, but let's go ahead and change this to untransparent, and they're gonna be kind of less effective, but you can see adding them kind of helps a lot to make the scene to be much more complex. And nice, got this nice motion blur, and the depth of field and optical flares really helps to sell the shot. And let's see, great, very nice. As you can see, it's very close to the main project that we have, and as you can see, the compositing isn't that hard, but there are some principles that you need to follow. So that's about it, and let's see what we can do here. And perfect, so we got the light, we got depth of field, we got a motion blur, and maybe we can go ahead and apply some you know, overall changes. And for example, we got this object buffer, so let's see, object buffer 1, object buffer 2, object buffer 3. Let's see what object buffer these guys are. Okay, that's object buffer 4. For example, this is object buffer 420. So what I can do, for example, I can go ahead and create a new adjustment layer. Okay, let's go there, create, select the composition here, and let's go ahead and create a new adjustment layer, and let's go ahead and name it maybe CC for those two numbers, for 20. Okay, for 2 and 0. Okay, let's go ahead and apply a simple hue and saturation. So there we go, and let's go ahead and maybe, if we want, we can go ahead and colorize everything. Let's go ahead and disable that, but let's make sure this is going to be applied to only our letter 2 and 0. I can simply use this matte, so let's go ahead and get this map here and make sure the this is the adjustment layer is going to be just affecting the 2 and the 0. So let's change its track matte to Luma matte. Okay, now it's just affecting the 2 and the 0, and I can go to my adjustment layer and really do whatever I want. So you can go ahead and totally change the feeling of our design, you see, and we can go ahead and change the background if we want, and it's really up to you. So that's why we actually export those mattes, to have absolute control over our renders. So that's about it, and I hope you love it. I'm going to actually turn it off, but I just wanted to make sure you understand this. Okay folks, it's finally finished, and we are done. As you can see, We still can work on it, and possibly we can go ahead and reduce the opacity of our optical flare, but generally speaking we have this very cool and awesome motion design. Thank you for watching this free video tutorial from mographplus.com. Please make sure to visit our website and check out our premium courses for Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, Arnold, V-Ray, Maxwell, motion graphics, and much more. And also please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo to enjoy our free video tutorials.